U975FM, Hot Like Pepper, Multicultural Radio.
Power to the listeners.
It is now time for Major News to the Hour. It comes to you with the very kind compliments of Super Quality Supermarket, Sheikh Lisha Limited, the Trinidad and Tobago Newsday, and Darpan Trading Company Limited.
This is the 3 p.m. news headlines on U975 FM, Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio. I am Uma Ratan Singh. Good afternoon. The Trinidad and Tobago law calls for the central bank to have 2 deputy governors. However, it is presently without a single deputy governor months after Dr. Sandra Sukram's term came to an end. The Ministry of Health has recorded 1 more death from COVID-19, bringing its total to 72 persons. In its clinical update for this morning, the ministry explains that the latest victim to die from the disease is an elderly female with pre-existing health conditions. The Budram orphans of Pinal are quickly coming closer to the completion of their home. However, many people touched by the children's resilience are continuing to offer support. Over the weekend, 7 more companies joined in to lend support to the children, extending food, school books, water, and other necessities. And that's your 3 p.m. news headlines on U975 FM, Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio. Join us at 4 p.m. for major news. I am Uma Ratan Singh. Good afternoon.
That was Major News to the Hour, brought to you with the very kind compliments of Super Quality Supermarket, Sheikh Lisha Limited, the Trinidad and Tobago Newsday, and Darpan Trading Company Limited.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors and roti makers. Try our high quality unbleached bromate free all purpose and baker's flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisha Limited 665-3336 or visit us at Warrenville, Canupia. Shiklisha Limited, quality you can trust.
For quality items, visit Super Quality Supermarket of Endeavour Road, Chaguanas, and Trin City Industrial Estate in Trin City, as well as Quality Cash and Carry Supermarket, Cuba Car Park, for all your grocery items, liquor, fresh fruits, and vegetables, not forgetting their bed and bath section, and kitchen appliances for your home. With so many items to choose from, take advantage of our great prices and discounts at any of our 3 locations, Trin City Industrial Estate in Trin City, Endeavour Road, Chaguanas, and Cuba. For quality items, Super Quality Supermarket and Quality Cash and Carry Supermarket.
To you, Newsday Classifieds. Take Value Optical to be your partner.
I do.
I do.
I now pronounce free eye test from Value Optical for Newsday Classified customers. Call the Newsday Classified reps for more information. You may now kiss the bride.
We shopping at Darpan Supermarket. Hey, come down. We'll value at Darpan Supermarket. Shop now at Darpan Supermarket. Come to Darpan Supermarket. We got the best prices for your pockets. Get real value for your money. Darpan Supermarket treats you like family. Nothing overpriced, it's guaranteed for sure. Save big at Darpan and shop even more. Real value to Darpan Supermarket. We got the best prices for your pockets. Take advantage of unbelievable deals at Darpan Supermarket, number 28 Foster Road in Sangre Grande. Darpan Supermarket and Investment Limited, giving you real value for your money.
Well, good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago, and welcome once again to another pre-budget discussion here on U975 FM, Hot Like Pepper, Multicultural Radio. My name is Nicole Dookie, and I will be in your company all the way until 6 p.m. Today, we will be joined by former Energy Minister Kevin Ramnarine, and later on in the show, financial analyst Ved Siram will also be in studio with us. Remember, you can call us live in studio at 636-7547, 227-5739. You can also WhatsApp us at 378-4975. We are live on Facebook, so you can view us on Facebook and share your comments on Facebook as well. You can also send us a message or comment on our YouTube channel at RCL U975FM. So there are so many different ways that you can get in contact with us. Remember, you can call, you can WhatsApp, you can send us a comment on Facebook or on our YouTube channel. Of course, you can listen to us also on the airwaves of U975 FM. Well, we are 1 week away from Budget Day 2020, a very, very big day for the government of Trinidad and Tobago, given the fact that they are faced with so many challenges, falling oil prices, as well as the COVID-19 pandemic, which would have taken a toll on the economy of Trinidad and Tobago. Not only the economy of Trinidad and Tobago, but the financial problems that face across the world is right now due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So at this time, we're going to take a very short commercial break, and I'm going to be joined by Kevin Ramnarine. He's going to be chatting with us a little bit via the telephone.
KY's Electrical Supplies Limited of Southern Main Road, Canoopia, for all your plumbing and electrical supplies, water heaters, filters and water pumps, plus all parts for Gould, Pentax and Leo pumps. Choose from leading brands such as Cooper, Varma, BTCino, Leviton and General Electric. Call 665-6954 for more information. KY's Electrical Supplies Limited of Southern Main Road, Canoopia.
U975 Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio is now on Facebook. Like us, follow and share our page. We'll be sharing the latest news, tips and much more. You can also view what's happening in our studio. Find us on YouTube and subscribe to our channel at RCL U975.
It's the talk of the town. It's Talk It Talk on U975 FM, Monday to Thursday from 6 to 9 p.m. So join me, your host Mukesh Baburam, on a 3-hour journey guaranteed to take your stress away. Remember, Monday to Thursday, right here on U975 FM.
Gosh, boy, I can't wait to go home now.
Stuck in traffic again, Hare Babri.
Well, guess what? Your day is about to get hotter than ever in the afternoon. It's the new afternoon drive time program on U975 FM, Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio. Tune in Monday to Friday from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. with yours truly, the DJ Flavia Experience. Let's make it hotter than ever in the afternoon. Great music, great info, and great vibes. Hotter than ever in the afternoon. Monday to Friday, 3 to 6 p.m. on U975 FM, Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio.
welcome back to the program. And as I mentioned before, we will be joined on the air by former Energy Minister Kevin Ramnarine. So let's entertain Kevin now. Hello, good afternoon, Kevin, and welcome to U975 FM.
Hi, good afternoon.
All right. Well, today would have been a big day ahead of the national budget. The Ministry of Finance would have held a spotlight on the budget and the economy 2021, and I know you would have paid very close attention to what was being said today. What are your thoughts after today's presentation?
Well, I didn't listen to it attentively, but I have gotten a lot of WhatsApp messages and calls and so on about things that were being said, and nothing that was said comes as a surprise. I think the government is simply setting the stage for the presentation of the 2021 fiscal package next week, Monday.
Yes.
I think it goes without saying that the country is in unprecedented economic times, and there is a situation globally that has arisen as a result of the pandemic. My understanding is that the Prime Minister, one of the most significant announcements is that the Prime Minister has announced that Carnival 2021 will be cancelled.
Yes.
That was sort of expected. We must, however, and let me say, I am not a medical expert, and I would assume that the Prime Minister is making these decisions on the basis of the advice that he's getting from those medical experts. But I would of course say that the economic impact of COVID-19,
yes,
which is currently being felt in 2020, will spill over in a very significant way into 2021. So if we thought that 2020 was a bad year for the economy, then 2021, I don't think it's going to be much better, especially the first 6 months of 2021. Let's take, for example, Carnival.
Yes.
Carnival itself is a significant generator of economic activity, of consumer activity, services, hotels, taxi drivers, the persons who are involved in making mask bands and so on, all contribute to this economy. The tourist industry, of course, benefits from Carnival, vendors, fast food establishments. We're talking about, the ripple effect from Carnival. The economic ripple effect is significant.
Yes.
So that is not going to be the case. There are many people in this country who depend on Carnival for their economic existence, for example. There are the people who are into the bands. There are people who throw fete. There are the companies that sell beverages and food and caterers and so on. So there's a whole sub-economy around Carnival. So the decision to not have Carnival is going to have an impact on that whole sub-economy of Trinidad and Tobago. So I think the other decision, I was told that Mr. Imbut said that there will be no devaluation at this point in time. Did you hear that? I was told that I saw that on Facebook. So I don't know if he actually said it, but I mean, if he did say it, it's consistent with his policy for the last 5 years, which is to defend the exchange rate at $6.79 TT to the US dollar.
Yes.
There have been many calls for devaluation from people in the academic community, the economists, and so on in Trinidad and Tobago. But the devaluation is something that, we have to think through very carefully. It's not something that we should just do on the basis of economic theory, because every single thing we consume in this country, most of what we consume as food in Trinidad and Tobago now is imported.
Yes.
And if you want to do a little test, the next time you're having a meal, look at your plate and ask yourself what on that plate has come from Trinidad. Most likely the rice and the sugar and so on would have come from Guyana.
Yes.
The fish or the salmon and so on. The only thing that would come from Trinidad might be the chicken. And even the inputs for chicken manufacture in Trinidad are all imported. So Evaluation is not a black and white answer. It's something which has to be thought out very carefully because it is potentially it could potentially dislocate significant a significant part of the economy.
Yes.
The prices of everything will go up. If you're thinking of buying a new car, you may have to change your mind, right?
Yes.
Because cars are imported. So that gives the population at least a degree of certainty. On the other side of the argument to devaluation is that our foreign reserves are running out. We are not replenishing our foreign reserves at the rate at which we are consuming our foreign reserves. If anything, we are borrowing US dollars from the international market and putting those US dollars into our foreign reserves, and the central bank is giving the Minister of Finance Trinidad and Tobago dollars.
Yes.
Because the Ministry of Finance operates and the government of Trinidad and Tobago operates by paying for goods and services in Trinidad and Tobago dollars. So that the other side of the story would be that our debt levels are going up.
Yes.
And I saw where our debt to GDP is somewhere now in the region of 77%, which is the highest that I have recalled in my lifetime. Maybe it was higher sometime in the 1970s or something, I don't know. But that is pretty significant. So we have to keep an eye on the debt levels
Yes.
of the country. But my main message to the public would be that 2021 is going to me, not a year of recovery, but more or less a year of the same situation that we've been in 2020. So we're going to get a spillover from COVID. And that I don't see the country having any sort of recovery or relief until 2022. Because in 2022 we have some increases in natural gas production and increases
Yes.
in oil production expected. But I'm seeing that, probably for the next 18 months, the country is really in a economic doldrum, which is something we're simply going to have to ride through, and something which we're simply going to have to fight our way through.
Right. But you mentioned debts, and in his statement today, the Prime Minister would have said that there are some impending cutbacks, and the government will have to focus on its priorities, and one of these priorities being clearing the debts that they would have incurred. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, Trinidad and Tobago has never defaulted on debt. Whether it is domestic debt or whether it is foreign debt, that's a very proud reputation that this country has. And I don't think we should even contemplate starting that now. And
Yes.
So therefore, I agree with
Agree.
that our first priority is those people that we owe money to.
Yes. So he also mentioned that the other priorities would include health, the children of the nation, which would be through education, as well as security, most important, and social services. Do you think that these are some of the priorities that they should really focus on when compared to every other thing? He did not make mention, for some reason, of the agriculture sector, and a lot of persons would have been lobbying for the agriculture sector to be one of those main sectors that they would use to generate revenue for the country. However, he did not make mention of that.
Well, I expect that agriculture would receive a lot of attention.
Yes.
On the budget day, on the 5th of October. I think it was mentioned that the government is going to be allocating $500 million to agriculture. So maybe it slipped whoever was writing the speech to put that in. But I just want to give some numbers here
Yes.
for the people to understand something. The monthly wage bill of Trinidad and Tobago, this is what the Ministry of Finance has to find every month to pay every public servant, every daily paid worker in the regional corporations, to pay the RHA workers and so on, is $1.6 billion
Yes.
per month. That is the country's average wage bill per month. If you multiply 1.6 by 12 months in the year, you get $19.2 billion. So that's $19.2 billion simply to pay wages and salaries and so on. Then above that, the government has to provide money to run health facilities, the hospitals, the health centers. The government has to provide money to run the police service. the Army, the Coast Guard, the Defense Force, and so on. So my understanding is that the what we call non-discretionary expenditure, which is expenditure that we simply cannot cut, right? Is about $42 billion.
Yes.
Now, this country will not earn $42 billion in 2020. This country will earn somewhere in the region of $33 billion in 2020. So $42 billion non-discretionary expenditure simply keeps you going. You haven't built a bridge, you haven't paved a road, you have not put up a signpost. It doesn't speak to capital expenditure type projects and so on, right?
Yes.
So at the very basic level, the country has to find this $42 billion every year, pay salaries and to keep hospitals and police stations and schools and so on running. So we are in a revenue crisis right now as a result of our energy sector not collecting the revenues that it ought to be collecting because of falling production, one, and two, low prices. So, and this situation is going to persist until 2022. So it is important because you hear people making all sorts of comments about things that the government should give away.
Yes.
And so on. The government is in no position to give away anything. The government has to be fiscally responsible and fiscally disciplined in the next 18 to 24 months until we begin to see some light at the end of the tunnel in probably mid-2022. So achieving this is a national effort, and I think
Yes.
the actions of every citizen contribute to the collective good of the nation. One of the ways that we can help this country recover is to get the infection rate down to below 20 infections per day, which will allow us to be part of the CARICOM bubble, the CARICOM travel bubble.
Yeah.
And that will help us to get our airport going, to get visitors back into Trinidad. I mean, right now, if you try to book a room in a hotel in Port of Spain, a number of the hotels in Port of Spain are not taking bookings.
Yes.
They're closed, right? So it's important. The one way we can contribute to getting the economy back on its feet faster is to all take the precautions, wear the mask, sanitize, social distance, be disciplined, be responsible. That allows us to get out of this COVID infection period faster. Barbados is doing it, St. Lucia is doing it, Grenada is doing it, right? Because those economies need tourists to come to those countries for them to economically survive, right?
Yes.
So the incentive is, of course, much greater to them to get rid of COVID. Because they need tourists to start coming back and businessmen to start coming back. So we need to get there too.
Right. So, Kevin, I don't want to keep you much longer. I just have one more question for you. The finance minister today, in his presentation, he would have stated that the revenues to the government would have suffered due to the fall, or rather the decline, in the petrochemical industry. How significant is it for the petrochemical industry in Trinidad and Tobago, and how significant does it impact on the revenue of the country?
Well, that's a whole other show. We could talk about it for a few hours. As we all know, Point Lisas is not in a good position.
Yes.
I think there are probably 6 or 7 plants down now. A couple plants may be coming back up soon, but generally some critical plants remain down. And our natural gas production as a country is falling. And we're not going to see that curve turn anywhere upward until 2022. The problem with Point Lisas is that those plants in Point Lisas mainly sell 2 products, ammonia and methanol. Both ammonia and methanol prices are down to historic lows because of COVID-19.
Yes.
In addition to which, the price that those plants have to pay for natural gas has increased. So the plants in Point Lisas buy natural gas and they use natural gas to make ammonia and methanol. Natural gas has become significantly more expensive, and the price of ammonia and methanol has decreased. So the profitability of many of these plants in Point Lisa is underwater, and as a result, we're seeing these plant closures. So the country will not be collecting this sort of corporation tax that it would normally have collected from the plants in Point Lisa and from the National Gas Company. So that our collection of taxes under, taxes on the category of taxes called taxes on goods and services, taxes on income and so on, would be significantly down. So the country's collection of revenue from the energy sector in 2020 is likely to be, the lowest in probably over a decade, right? So really and truly at this point in time, our energy sector is not in a position to generate the revenues that we generated back in 2014. 2014, we collected $31 billion from the oil and gas sector, from energy. $31 billion.
Yes.
This year, if we collect $6 billion, we'll be very lucky, right? If we collect $6 billion this year. So that is the stark reality of what has happened. And the faster people understand that and accept that, is it better for the country? People need to understand that 2020 really is a revenue constrained year.
Yes.
And the same thing will happen in 2021, right?
Yes.
So I don't see us coming out of this economic doldrum until 2022, and that, of course, is subject to many things. That could also be derailed,
Okay. All right, Kevin, I want to thank you very, very much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Please and try your call again if you need.
And that was the voice of former Energy Minister Kevin Ramnarine. And of course, he's saying that we will experience financial difficulties in 2021. And he does not see us coming out of this at least until 2022, given the situation with COVID-19, falling oil prices. And, today the Prime Minister would have announced that there would be no Carnival 2021. Carnival 2021, of course, has been cancelled as a result of COVID-19 in Trinidad and Tobago. At this time, we take a short break, and when we get back, I will play you parts of the Prime Minister's speech so we can get a feel as to the direction that the government is heading with regards to Budget 2021, which would be laid in the Parliament next week, Monday, by the Finance Minister.
Kathy's Cool Spot Enterprises Limited, number 86 Pearville, opposite the TSTT Exchange in Mayaro. We specialize in all types of meats, dry goods, liqueur, beverages, ice, LPG, gas, motor oils, stationery supplies, and photocopying. We also provide rentals of tents and chairs for your every occasion. Come in and take advantage of our specials at reduced prices on liqueur, wholesale and retail. We are open every day, even on public holidays, for your convenience. TT Post services are available here at Kathy's Cool Spot Enterprises Limited of number 86 Pearville, Mayaro, where our friendly staff will be happy to serve you.
We shopping at Durban Supermarkets. Hey, come down. We value at Durban Supermarket. Shop now at Durban Supermarket. Come to Durban Supermarkets. We got the best prices for your pockets. Get real value for your money. Durban Supermarket treats you like family. Nothing overpriced, it's guaranteed for sure. Save big at Durban and shop even more. Real value to Durban Supermarket. We got the best prices for your pockets. Take advantage of unbelievable deals at Durban Supermarket, number 28 Foster Road in Sangre Grande. Durban Supermarket and Investment Limited, giving you real value for your money.
Greeted in the wonderful name of Jesus. My name is Bishop Kelvin Khan from Endurance Ministry International. Our new location is in Railway Road, Londonville. You can tune into 97.5 every Sunday morning from 6 a.m. till 8. Tell your nanny and your nana, your chachi, your chacha, your grandpa, your grandma. We need to pray for our nation. God bless you. Thank you.
Do you wake up every morning wondering what the stars hold for you, but do not have the time to check the internet or newspaper? Then tune in to U975 Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio or log on to YouTube at RCL U975 or Facebook for your daily horoscope with Uma Ratan Singh just after the 6 a.m. news. Mondays to Fridays, let the stars be your guide. Remember, be positive, love yourself, and serve your purpose in life.
And welcome back to pre-budget discussions right here on U975 Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio. Remember, you can join us on the telephone at 636-7547, 227-5739. You can WhatsApp us at 378-4975. You can also send us a message via our Facebook page and our YouTube channel at RCL U975. Well, like I said earlier, later today at 4 p.m., shortly after 4 p.m., I will be joined by Ved Siram, financial analyst, and he is our in-house economist here on U975 Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio. Prior to the break, I would have had a short discussion with former Energy Minister Kevin Ramnarine, and Kevin would have stated that we are in a revenue crisis, and we will not be out of this crisis, unfortunately, until 2022, especially with the cancellation of Carnival. The first 6 months of 2021 are going to be very tough for us here in Trinidad and Tobago, because we would not be able to generate the additional revenue that we would generate around Carnival time. A lot of people will definitely feel the brunt of this. So I wanted to play for you some short clips from the Prime Minister's remarks today during the Ministry of Finance's spotlight on the budget and the economy, and it was presentation by the Minister of Finance about what we can expect in the upcoming budget. Of course, it was not the budget presentation. However, it is just a few ideas into the lead up of what we can expect for budget 2021. And the Minister of Finance, before I play you those clips, I just want to tell you that a finance minister would have said that Trinidad and Tobago's economy in itself had not been doing well for so many years, and it took a direct hit with the COVID-19 pandemic upon us, which would have cost the government a lot of money in various sectors of health, social services, through the financial grants that were offered, salary relief grants, and all those different types of grants that were offered to citizens during the time that they were unemployed when we had our first wave of COVID-19 in Trinidad and Tobago. And of course, the oil and gas sector, the lower demand for oil and gas, and oil and gas prices have been falling for quite some time prior to COVID-19, and now with COVID-19, the COVID-19 pandemic, there's a lower demand for the oil and gas, and of course that would have added to the negative impact that we would have had in our economy. Minister Imbert would have also stated that between 2010 and 2014, there was increased government expenditure, and he said that during that time, the revenue was not keeping up with the government's expenditure. So it would have meant that the government was spending more than it was earning during 2010 and 2014. The Prime Minister, during his speech, would have stated that there are some cutbacks that will be done in the national budget. So you, of course, will have to look out for some of those cutbacks. He didn't say exactly what those cutbacks would be. I know a lot of persons would have been calling for the Prime Minister, his ministers, and those in high offices to take salary cuts as part of the cutbacks in the 2021 national budget. And the Prime Minister also stated that government will have to choose its priorities. And of course, he stated that his priorities would be to clear the country's debts, and the other priorities would be areas of security, education, health, and social services. Now, social services in particular is something that a lot of persons in this country would be looking on at for the national budget to find out the information as to whether or not government will be cutting back on these social services. These social services will basically the pension checks, disability grants, child welfare grants, among food cards, all those different things that people in the society, the less vulnerable in society, and the older folks look forward to. So, according to the Prime Minister, it is important to ensure that social services are honored because of the fact that these are the consumers. These people who receive these services are the consumers, and they are able to keep the economy going by purchasing goods and services. So like I said, I just wanted to play some of what the Prime Minister would have stated today.
So we are not operating by VAPs, as some would have you believe. We are not operating vice, as some would believe. We might not be magicians, but we are responsible at the level of the cabinet, at the level of the business community, at the level of NGOs, and those who look out for Trinidad and Tobago. It is a difficult period. Government is also the largest employer of labor in the country, and in many cases, the largest investor in national infrastructure development and economic infrastructure as well. So in Trinidad and Tobago, while that is the picture, the government also over time has assumed more and more personal responsibilities funded from the National Treasury. That is all well and good if it can be financed, if it can be afforded, and of course, if it can be sustained. Because to not do that is to create a new calamity to add to whatever we have facing us now. It is paying for money that we borrowed and spent at an earlier time, hopefully, spent usefully. But the priority that the national on us allows us to intervene and to participate in the international economy. So all of us have a responsibility to all of them, whoever they might be, that whatever we take from the National Treasury, from the National Resource Pool, that we don't take only for ourselves, but we ensure that some is left for the least of those who can or cannot look after themselves. And that is why the social support system would remain a priority. Because if the economy loses the input from the large number of people who rely on their government checks, if those people are lost, then that is a huge loss to the prospering part of the economy because they are consumers.
And that was the voice of Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley. As indicated, he said that the debts of the government of Trinidad and Tobago will be at top priority in addition to health services, security, education, and most importantly, social services. Remember, you can call to join the discussion at 636-7547, 227-5739. You could also WhatsApp at 378-4975. You can send us a message on Facebook and on YouTube at RCL U975. Well, the finance minister today would have hinted even though he said that it's not a budget presentation that he had given today, he would have hinted that revenue estimates for fiscal 2021 would be approximately $40 billion, $10 billion less than the revenue estimates for 2020. He said the new budget deficit projected for 2020 is $17.3 billion, which is $12 billion more than the $5.3 billion estimated initially. He stated that public debt also raised to 77%, just over 12% more than 2019. And this is just a reminder that joining us in just after 4 p.m. would be financial analyst Fade Seram, and he is going to be, giving us his thoughts as to what would have transpired today, the speeches and the statements made by the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance at today's spotlight on the budget and the economy. Just to remind you, Minister Imbert would have also stated that a drastic collapse in the petrochemical industry did not help the revenues of Trinidad and Tobago. He also stated that there was increased government expenditure between 2010 and 2014, and revenues were not keeping up pace with government expenditure. Again, earlier today, the Prime Minister would have also announced that there would be no Carnival 2021, and we know that Carnival definitely brings in a large amount of revenue to Trinidad and Tobago. And with the cancellation of Carnival due to COVID-19, we are going to see a further decline in the economy. We have a call on the line. Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Mm-hmm.
But that's been so for a long time. How long have we went to visit budget? Not just 10 to 14. We went to visit budget as the order of the day. Even beyond 2014, not today.
Yes.
I don't understand. They want to blame the UN.
Well, I didn't want to mention that it was during the time of the partnership government, but of course, 2010 to 2014 would have been under the People's Partnership government.
And they still run the deficit budget up to now.
Yes.
They were there before and they didn't know. So they were just pointing a finger to give a wrong impression about something. Complete now.
Yes. But do you believe that the opposition leader last week, Monday, I believe, she had a virtual report and she would have been saying that she was telling citizens to look out because they're going to blame COVID for the budget and the economic crisis that we're facing in the country. Do you at any point believe in that? Believe her statements?
Well, COVID will have a definite impact.
Yes.
Because that has impacted the airline industry, the cruise ship industry.
Yes.
And when that impact there, then you have oil and gas, the whole travel industry, everything went down, and we of course depend on oil and gas.
Yes.
So that has impacted very heavily, not only on us throughout the world, but we in particular who have had a dependency on oil and gas, we have suffered more for it. And what I want to see come in the budget
yes.
is how you move away from oil and gas. That we can't just give it up. But we had a good cocoa industry, a coconut industry, a citrus industry,
yes.
a sugar industry. All these things closed down.
Yes.
Even our refinery closed down too. So.
But during his time as Minister of Agriculture, Mr. Vasan Bharat would have made attempts to revitalize the coconut industry.
Yeah, let me tell you something. It was under minister come out in one with the minister of agriculture that the agriculture is good before trade. I tell you something, in the 60s, you used to have trucks laden with boxes of citrus going to Port of Spain. 1976, when I first undercarried the first time, there was orange and grapefruit juice being sold in the grocery in Canada. Camden, Trinidad. So where has all that gone? We had a factory in the Eastern Corridor. They were actually making tins and packages and all that, you know. Their only business was making tins and all different kinds of tins and packages, because we had industries that impacted and needed that service. That closed down. We have closed down industries that were doing very good for us.
Yes.
And we have to ask ourselves why. And somebody says 1%. I don't know if it's 1% or 2% or 3%. But what I know is that the people have to get up and create the change. And the only thing is, the only way this can happen, and take what I'm telling you, is go back and examine that 1976 Constitution, when we moved the Governor General to the President, and all the commissioners are appointed on the advice of the Prime Minister, all political appointees. You can't have independent people being appointed by politicians that is independent. So unless that changes, we don't been well towards. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Well, at this time, we take a commercial break and we'll be right back.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors and roti makers. Try our high quality unbleached bromate free all purpose and baker's flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisha Limited 665-3336 or visit us at Warrenville, Canupia. Shiklisha Limited, quality you can trust.
For quality items, visit Super Quality Supermarket of Endeavour Road, Chaguanas, and Trin City Industrial Estate in Trin City, as well as Quality Cash and Carry Supermarket, Cuba Car Park, for all your grocery items, liquor, fresh fruits, and vegetables, not forgetting their bed and bath section, and kitchen appliances for your home. With so many items to choose from, take advantage of our great prices and discounts at any of our 3 locations: Trin City Industrial Estate in Trin City, Endeavour Road, Chaguanas, and Cuba. For quality items, Super Quality Supermarket and Quality Cash and Carry Supermarket.
Hi, my name is Nicole Dookie, and I am inviting you to join me alongside Kenrick Jaggernaut on U-Talk, Mondays to Fridays from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. right here on U975 Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio. We will be bringing you all the information you need to know in the world of news and current affairs. You are also invited to add your voice, so call us live and let's get interactive.
And welcome back to the program. Remember, it's pre-budget discussions on U975 Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio. We are just 1 week away from that big day, Budget Day 2020. It's the day when all eyes will be on the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago. All eyes will be on the Finance Minister to hear what he will be bringing to the national community as it relates to the budget 2020. As a matter of fact, that's for the 2020-2021 fiscal package. There are so many different things happening. So many people are worried as to what would come in that budget, given the fact that we are suffering a lot of losses as a result, financial decline as a result of COVID-19. Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thanks for a wonderful program. I just want to make a point to you, right?
Yes.
I agree with the last caller. You know, our culture is a backbone to any country.
Yes.
I know I don't seem to understand as an individual. I love my country very much. The last Minister of Agriculture, right? I mean, it's the worst I've ever seen in my life, right? He hasn't done anything for agriculture, and this Prime Minister picking back again. Just imagine, right? India is 1-point-something billion people, and they are self-sufficient food. And we don't plan nothing and growing nothing according to the last caller, right? And I am very disappointed with the Prime Minister and that statement because agriculture is a backbone to save the country from foreign exchange and other means. Take, for instance, I will buy a certain customer, right? I do a business, a certain customer. And I see a van load of bananas came. And that van loader came out from outside, right? Dominican Republic and so on.
Yes.
I mean, you could tell me all this beautiful land and the weather we have in this country. Look, I live in Las Thomas, right? I have been passing through Caroni and all these places for years, and all these lands are empty, right? Empty. But again, I want to tell you, right? Agriculture is a backbone to any country, and we can save a lot of foreign exchange if we encourage the young youths, right? I'll tell you something before I go, right? When I was going to school, I remember in the school, I went to 2 schools in Quebec. And in the back of the school, it had a backyard garden. And we used to go there in the afternoon with the teachers and so on.
Yes.
When I was 8 and 9, I am 70 years now, right? When I was 12 and 15 years, right? You tell me what the schools have right now. It's on the computer and phone, on the computer. Agriculture is a backbone to the savior of our country, right? And this is my point to you. I will hear a comment afterwards.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that, for your contribution, caller. And so for so many persons and a lot of persons in Trinidad and Tobago would have been making that call for the diversification of the economy and using agriculture to diversify the economy. Hello, good afternoon and welcome.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
I'd like to make one comment.
Sure.
Agriculture is really driven that our business people and project commerce, but people tend to invest.
Yes.
They are really traders. They prefer to buy
Yes.
and trade. They don't really manufacture. They don't have a desire to manufacture or produce a plant. So what I believe the state needs to do is to put that disincentive for the importation of certain agriculture products. I need to say, we're in a free trade situation where that might be a challenge.
Yes.
But the real problem in Trinidad and Tobago right now is that our business people tend to be traders, put a buy and trade. Because, let me give you a quick one. I bought a pack of salt recently.
Yes.
And do you know that was imported from China? And when I was growing up, Trinidad and Tobago, we used to mix salt locally, take the salt water and dry. So our people are traders, and that's the problem. Thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you for your call. Okay, so it's 3:53 in studio here. In the next few minutes, we will be going to the 4 p.m. news with Uma Ratan Singh. And coming up after 4 p.m., we will be joined by financial analyst Ved Siram. Remember, you can continue to call us at 636-7547, 227-5739. You can also send us a WhatsApp at 378-4975. Tell me what are your views. Tell me how you're feeling ahead of the national budget. Hearing all these different comments from the Prime Minister, the Minister of Finance, and key stakeholders in the country as it relates to COVID-19, Budget 2020. And as I said, COVID-19, during my conversation with Kevin Ramnarine, he would have stated that once we get our infection rate down to below 20 persons per day, then it will allow us, Trinidad and Tobago, to be a part of the CARICOM travel bubble, where we would be able to get persons to travel to Trinidad and Tobago and be able to generate some type of income through tourism. Well, you would have seen over the weekend, news would have been surfacing of state-owned Caribbean Airlines making announcement to cut salaries of their employees, because Caribbean Airlines was one of those, the airline industry rather, was one of those industries that would have taken a hard hit from COVID-19, given the fact that borders were closed and people were not traveling. People are still not traveling, and it has negatively impacted on Caribbean Airlines, state-owned airlines. Well, yesterday, the opposition leader, Kamla Prasad Bisasa, she would have issued a statement, and she is calling on the government to lower food prices. So she stated that the government must take steps in the upcoming budget to lower food prices. She said that government must enact measures to reduce the cost of food, given the current hardship many in the country are facing because of the COVID-19 pandemic. She called on the government to consider the removal of VAT on a wider variety of food items so that we can ensure that citizens do not go hungry. She made her appeal in her statement on her social media pages, and she said thousands of citizens across Trinidad and Tobago will not be able to put a meal on their tables for their families. Well, she stated that when she was in government, the People's Partnership Administration, noting that they had made issues of food security and low-cost food were top priorities, and she's advising the Rowley-led administration to do the same. Well, Mrs. Prasad Bisasa is of the view that while COVID-19 would have taken a toll this year, extreme poverty has been increasing in the last months because of the economic hardship, joblessness, and increasing cost of food that have plagued the nation in the last 5 years. So those are the views of the opposition leader. Like I said, she is calling, as I mentioned in her statement, she's calling on government to lower food prices. Hello, good afternoon and welcome.
Yeah, good afternoon, my dear. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, fair enough. Okay, 2 things. The only way food prices can go down right now is you have to lower VAT.
Yes.
That is the only way. Because the supply and demand is a different thing. I know where you say you can't import to anything, you have to go local. That's the next thing. You have to encourage people to change their lifestyle as to eating habits. To appreciate more local foods.
Yes.
And we also have to increase agriculture to the extent where we could feed our nation. Follow?
Yes.
This thing about carnival.
Uh-huh.
There's no carnival next year.
No carnival next year.
But the thing is, I don't know if you have this task. The income generated from carnival.
Uh-huh.
How much of that goes back into the expenditure? Because I know it costs a lot to host carnival.
It does cost a lot to host carnival.
It might be interesting to see what is the overall income as against the overall expense.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yes.
So, because every year we hear carnival thing asking for more money for this, more money for that, and the other, and the income is dwindling because people are going to be traveling. I have started to travel less, but no carnival next year, and that's no problem with me either.
So you're not bothered by the fact that we're not having carnival?
No, I remember in 1972 we didn't have carnival, you know.
Okay.
No, well, actually it happened, but it didn't happen around the time it was supposed to happen. Coincidence, it was around that same period, 14, 15.
Yes.
You know, so I know they had it in May. It was not significant and created a big impact that it would have.
Yes.
For February. Because,
yes.
People want to run away from the winter.
Mm-hmm.
You know? But other than that, in terms of, well, I heard you talk about property tax. I think you say $40 per year for 10 years.
Yes.
Average $400, which I don't see to be too much. We just buy chickens out there for the week sometimes. So let me put the property tax and be able to.
Okay. All right, then. Thank you very much, caller. Well, at this time, we're going to take a short break, and we're going to break for the 4 p.m. news right here on U975 Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio with Irma Ratan Singh.
Make it your choice. Something for
U975 FM. Music for you. It's all about you.
U975 FM, Hot Like Pepper, Multicultural Radio.
Power to the listeners.
It is now time for Major News to the Hour. It comes to you with the very kind compliments of Super Quality Supermarket, Sheikh Leisha Limited, the Trinidad and Tobago Newsday, and Darpan Trading Company Limited.
This is the 4 p.m. news on U975 FM, Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio. I am Umaratan Singh. Good afternoon. Finance Minister Colin Mimbier said that the economy has not been doing well for a number of years. He explained that this country's revenue took a negative hit from the collapse of the petrochemical industry in addition to oil and gas.
I just threw this in just to give you an idea that we don't only have problems with oil and gas prices. We have problems with petrochemicals. And I just pick one, ammonia. And you can see what has happened to ammonia, where in 2014, not too long ago, the price of ammonia per metric ton was over $600 US, close to 700. And it dropped to below $250 in December 2018.
Meanwhile, Minister Mbier said between 2010 and 2014, there were increased government expenditure. However, he noted that the revenue during that time was not keeping up with government's expenditure.
Expenditure was consistently increasing. This is government expenditure. From 46 billion in 2010 to virtually 63 billion in 2014. But revenue was not keeping pace with expenditure.
Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley has announced impending cuts in the 2021 national budget. He made the statement while delivering the future address at the Ministry of Finance Spotlight on the Budget and the Economy earlier. The event is being hosted 1 week ahead of the national budget.
So, we are not operating by VAPs, as some would have you believe. We are not operating vice, as some would believe. We might not be magicians, but we are responsible at the level of the cabinet, at the level of the business community, at the level of NGOs, and those who look out for Trinidad and Tobago. It is a difficult period.
The Prime Minister said the government will have to choose what its priorities are and explained that it will be in the best interest of the nation. One priority would be to clear the country's debts.
Government is also the largest employer of labor in the country, and in many cases the largest investor in national infrastructure development and economic infrastructure as well. So in Trinidad and Tobago, while that is the picture, the government also, over time, has assumed more and more personal responsibilities funded from the National Treasury. That is all well and good if it can be financed, if it can be afforded, and of course, if it can be sustained.
Police Commissioner Gary Griffiths said investigations are ongoing to find out what transpired during a police raid in La Horquetta. This comes after video footage surfaced over the weekend which showed one of the officers stashing away cash in his possession. The monies were seized last Tuesday at an apartment located at Phase 1, La Horquetta. There have since been conflicting reports as to which arm of the protective services the officer belonged to.
Because we have operations joint with customs, with Coast Guard. We can't account for what they do in the exercise, but we are responsible for the exercise. But if they do something questionable, don't come and blame the police because of what somebody else would have done. That is my point. So, as I said, this matter is being, these individuals would be investigated to verify exactly what transpired in that envelope being placed in his possession.
Commissioner Griffiths said there are presently 3 investigations taking place to clear the air on who took the money. However, Griffith argued that it was impossible to check $22 million in such a short time and explained that the police officers are being investigated.
when the cash was actually seized and brought to the police station, we had police officers who automatically decided to say that they could have counted $22 million and verify that amount and then state that they had receipts, and they decided to return it to the individual. That is virtually impossible. In fact, it is impossible. You cannot count $22 million in that short space of time. You're also supposed to check to verify if it's counterfeit. You're supposed to bring in the FIP, and you cannot balance that with receipts. And what made it worse is that they did not even keep copies of these receipts. So for all we know, it could have been 50 million or 70 million, and you have no receipts. So that is also an investigation ongoing on these police officers, whether it is negligence or they are part and parcel of a criminal act taking place by removal of evidence.
Commissioner Griffith spoke exclusively to U975 FM this morning and said that there were persons in society who are making a desperate attempt to get him out of office.
The vast majority on social media are upset because Gary Griffith is trying to clean up the police service, and he is questioning the action of $22 million in cash being found in the roof, in the cupboards, under a bed, and people are saying, "Have fastened out the place, leave that alone." And then when one police officer commits an act, if one police officer does something wrong, which is what the Israel and they were hoping for, try to demand that the commissioner of police is to be blamed. So I am to be blamed of the actions of any of 8,000 police officers 24 hours a day. That is how desperate people have become to try to remove me from office.
An elderly female with comorbidities is the latest victim to have died as a result of COVID-19 in Trinidad and Tobago. This is according to the Ministry of Health's 10 a.m. update. The ministry has also noted that 20 additional persons have tested positive for the virus. This now takes the total number of active cases to 2,035. Despite the law calls for up to 2 deputy governors for the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago, it is presently without a single deputy governor months after Dr. Sandra Sukram's term came to an end. Since the Rowley administration came ruling in 2015, the government and finance minister Colum Imber have failed to recommend to the president anyone to be appointed as deputy governor. Since the central bank has been operating for the last 5 years, short of its complement of deputy governors, and members of the bank are expressing their concerns. And we move across regionally to Guyana. President Irfan Ali's government has begun the distribution of the promised $25,000 COVID-19 relief grant to citizens. According to the president, a full team has traveled to the regions, and distribution started on Saturday and is expected to take approximately 6 days, while the rest of Guyana is expected to receive their grants during the week. The Guyana president assured that the team is working towards reaching every household for the distribution. And as we switch across the globe internationally to the UK, according to a BBC report, there have been COVID-19 outbreaks in about 40 universities across the UK thus far, and there's every chance that the number will rise as more universities get the term underway. It is not exactly the university experience that students imagined. Universities are stuck in their own tight corner. They are under pressure from lecturers to switch to all online teaching and get students home rather than create a loop tape of COVID-19 outbreaks. But that would provoke angry demands for refunds over accommodation and fees. And on to your weather forecast for today. Trinidad and Tobago will experience partly cloudy and breezy conditions with showers at times in varying localities, along with a 60% chance of isolated heavy showers or thunderstorm over a few areas. Settled conditions are expected by evening. Seas will be slight to moderate, with waves up to 1.5 meters in open waters and below 1 meter in sheltered areas. The current temperature is 29 degrees Celsius and expected to reach a high of 32 degrees Celsius, while Tobago is expected to reach a high of 32 degrees Celsius. Sunset is at 5:57 p.m. And that brings us to the end of the 4 p.m. news on U975 FM Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio. Join us at 6 p.m. for more news. I am Uma Ratan Singh, wishing you a safe and good afternoon.
That was Major News to the Hour. Brought to you with the very kind compliments of Super Quality Supermarket, Sheikh Lisha Limited, the Trinidad and Tobago Newsday, and Darban Trading Company Limited.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors and roti makers. Try our high quality unbleached bromate free all purpose and baker's flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisha Limited 665-3336 or visit us at Warrenville, Canupia. Shiklisha Limited, quality you can trust.
For quality items, visit Super Quality Supermarket of Endeavour Road, Chaguanas, and Trin City Industrial Estate in Trin City, as well as Quality Cash and Carry Supermarket, Cuba Car Park, for all your grocery items, liquor, fresh fruits, and vegetables, not forgetting their bed and bath section, and kitchen appliances for your home. With so many items to choose from, take advantage of our great prices and discounts at any of our 3 locations: Trin City Industrial Estate in Trin City, Endeavour Road, Chaguanas, and Cuba. For quality items, Super Quality Supermarket and Quality Cash and Carry Supermarket.
To you, Newsday Classifieds. Take Value Optical to be your partner.
I do.
I do.
I now pronounce free eye test from Value Optical for Newsday Classified customers. Call the Newsday Classified reps for more information. You may now kiss the bride.
We shopping at Durban Supermarket. Hey, come down. We'll value at Durban Supermarket. Shop now at Durban Supermarket. Come to Durban Supermarket. We got the best prices for your pockets. Get real value for your money. Durban Supermarket treats you like family. Nothing overpriced, it's guaranteed for sure. Save big at Durban and shop even more. Real value to Durban Supermarket. We got the best prices for your pockets. Take advantage of unbelievable deals at Durban Supermarket, number 28 Foster Road in Sangre Grande. Durban Supermarket and Investment Limited, giving you real value for your money.
Welcome back to the program. It's pre-budget discussions right here on U975 Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio. Remember, you can join us on the lines at 636-7547, 227-5739. You can send us a WhatsApp at 378-4975. You could also check us out on Facebook and YouTube at RCL U975. Well, I happened to come across a copy of the supplemental budget for the 2019-2020 fiscal package. And this was taken to the Parliament back in June. During the time of COVID-19, or COVID-19 pandemic would have already started, and the government would have gone to the Parliament back in June for additional expenditure to the budget, 2019-2020 budget. So I just wanted to go through some of the expenditures for the supplemental budget. Remember, we'll be joined shortly by financial analyst Ved Siram. So in the meantime, the judiciary would have secured an additional $99,648. Service Commissions Department $2,142,000. The Elections and Boundaries Commission, $43 million. The Office of the Prime Minister, $47,220,000. Tobago House of Assembly, $105 million. The Ministry of National Security, $8.8 million. Ministry of Finance, or rather, Ministry of Finance was $8.8 million. Ministry of National Security is $177,824. Ministry of Health, $224,582,640. And those are just some of the figures that they would have taken to the Parliament to have approved for the supplemental budget back in June. And like I mentioned before, that we would have been joined by financial analyst Ved Siram, and he is here in studio. Good afternoon, Mr. Siram, and how are you doing?
Good afternoon, Nicole. I'm sorry, I apologize for being late.
That's
I had a meeting in Deep South.
Right. All right, well, we have one more week before the big day, Budget Day 2020, and today the Ministry of Finance would have hosted a spotlight on the budget and the economy 2021, and the Prime Minister would have addressed that, as well as the Finance Minister, and they both made some pronouncements at today's. I don't know if you got a chance to listen to
No, I'd be glad if you repeat it.
All right, so let me just, for the purpose of Mr. Siram, just give you a little idea as to what the Prime Minister would have stated. Well, he, of course, cancelled Carnival 2021. That's like the big story right now. A lot of persons are going to suffer, of course, in that industry. And also he said that there will be some cutbacks. He didn't say what the cutbacks would be. He also stated that the government is going to select what their priorities are. It's going to be health, security, social services, and education. Yeah? One of the main priorities of the government would also be to repay their debts. That's what he stated. And the finance minister said that the country took a negative hit from the collapse of the petrochemical industry. He said between 2010 and 2014 there was increased government expenditure, limited revenue, and so that is just some of the things that he would have said. Of course, he said that the budget 2021, he's going to have to make some tough decisions as it relates to budget 2021. Before you came in, we would have entertained a little discussion with Kevin Ramnarine, former energy minister, and he said that we are in a revenue crisis. He said that once the infection rates are down to below 20 per day, we will be able to be part of the CARICOM travel bubble, so that we can have a little bit of stuff happening tourism-wise. And well, he's saying that we will not be coming out of this financial problems until probably 2022.
Okay, that's quite a mouthful. I think the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance is just alerting us to the inevitable. I don't know where the cuts and so on are going to come, but he'll have some major decisions to make. And I said one of the first places they should be cutting is the salaries of the ministers, cabinet, and members of parliament. And whilst that may appear outlandish, other countries are doing it, and I think the latest one to do it is New Zealand, and the Prime Minister has announced a 25% cut in our budget. Now, if you are going to try to implement austerity measures, you must do it by way of example. That's the only way you can do it. You cannot tell the rest of the country tighten their belts and make certain sacrifices, and you at the top going on as usual. So I think the Prime Minister understands the task ahead. I think he'll be very foolish not to recognize that austerity measures cannot be implemented without proper example. And that example has to come from the very top. It has to be supported now by the opposition, leader of the opposition and opposition. It has to be supported by all those executives in the companies, that state enterprises. All of them have to come under some kind of reduction in salaries and perks. And I do not quite understand why the Prime Minister omitted to say job creation would be a major priority. Was that mentioned?
I can't recall, but from my notes, I didn't see anything like that. But I know he would have mentioned the creation of jobs at some other time.
Yeah, because creation of sustainable jobs is very important.
Yes.
And therefore, to do that, you have to diversify the economy. So where's the plan? You cannot say the emphasis is on health. Yes, of course it is, to some extent. But that is where the argument lies. What they are saying is that we have lives or livelihood. And my position, I've thought about it. They are one and the same. You cannot have life without livelihood. And you cannot have livelihood without life. They are one and the same.
Yes.
And while they're saying they're trying to balance both, there's nothing to balance about it. You have to, they're one and the same. They're not two distinct ideas or issues to be addressed. So this is the most nervous time for Trinidadians
indeed,
and Tobagonians. And I've been singing this song for the last 6 years that we are going into a deep recession and into a depression, and we should have been adjusting. I would consider 10 years ago we should have been adjusting. In fact, since Manning's time, that we should have been adjusting, because we could not depend on the volatility of oil and gas and say that we are in a comfortable position.
But he mentioned social services, and this is something I know a lot of persons would be looking out for. The announcement to things like old age pensions and disability grants and all these different things, because in the past we would have had it increased, cut back, all these different things. But he mentioned the importance of having those things as priority in the budget. But do you foresee, or do you think that even though he said they're priority, do you foresee that being cut back?
Well, you ought not to be cutting from the bottom up. It should be from the top go down. And the top, the question of cuts, it cannot be throughout the system, because a person getting $3,000 pension, I don't know how they're surviving on it when they spend over $1,000 on medicine, which they cannot get from the health sector. So the health sector is in shambles, despite the self-praise that we have been getting. And I do not see, if you cut their pensions, what people will have to do ultimately is to sell their home, sell their assets, and try to survive.
Yes, but in recent times also we would have seen business owners crying out to the government, literally crying out to the government for some type of intervention. Particularly bar owners, they would have been asking for the government to intervene for some type of grant if they must. Even the chambers, the different chambers. Recently we would have spoken to Anil Ramjit. He's the president of the Gasparilla Tabaki Chamber, I believe it is, and he also spoke about some type of assistance from the government for small businesses in particular, because if you were to take a drive through High Street in San Fernando, or even just recently Trinity Mall, when you look at the mall videos of the mall, would have seen a lot of stores closing through San Fernando. The same thing, and not only San Fernando but various areas throughout the country, a lot of these small businesses are closing. So how would government be able to keep these businesses afloat in a time like this?
Yeah, remember those businesses were built on certain assumptions, certain practices, certain expenditure patterns, certain revenue patterns. The revenue patterns no longer exist, and therefore there have to be significant adjustments now to what people do for a livelihood, for a living, for earning their revenues, for earning their wages. And this is where the restructuring of the economy comes in. The government, effectively, they are broke. They cannot meet their recurrent expenditures, far less for meeting interest payments, far less for meeting their loan repayments. They cannot meet it. They cannot meet, if you cannot meet your payables, there's a lot of payables outstanding that government is not meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So what assistance can you get from government? Government has been reaching out to try to, what I would call, mop the corners to get whatever dollars they can. And the question is what additional assets to be sold. Now, there are a few things that the government can do to raise money, but by and large, that's not going to take us through the next 12 months. They have to dip into the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. They don't have a choice. They will go back to government and says, look, we need to take all of it to survive the next year, and cross fingers and pray. But crossing fingers and praying is not adequate at this point in time. What we need is very strong leadership in what direction this economy and this country must take. They cannot be promising on social services when they do not have the income to support their promises.
Yes.
And I think they between the devil and the deep blue sea, they're between the rock and a hard place, however you want to define it. And I don't think they have a solution for it, because they've never developed a solution over the years, and it is too late. I don't think the advisors have a comprehensive handle on what is happening to Trinidad and Tobago and how to manage it.
Yes, very interesting. He mentioned health. And with the impact of COVID-19 in Trinidad and Tobago, government would have set up the parallel healthcare system. And if you would recall, some of those places, the step-down facilities, for example, the Davis Home, it's $105,000 per month. Campbellantra, $85,000 to outfit UE in Penal Day Bay, the campus, $1 million. Now, this is just the outfit. Tagarigua Center, $1 million, all these different things. And he's saying health, and with a pandemic like this, and now just over the weekend they're preparing for flu season, H1N1, and they're asking persons to get vaccinated and all these different things. We have to pay the human resources as well. So how much money would we have? Would we have enough money to sustain the health sector, given the fact that we have a parallel system set up to deal with COVID, in addition to all the other different things that we have, diseases and stuff that going around in the country?
Yeah, you can't have health without food.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have health without families getting some kind of money, income coming in to not only feed yourself but take care of basic needs and basic wants. The education system, I think, that's in disarray, and I think that will fall apart. And perhaps we should all go on holidays for the next 2 years till some sanity returns to the economy and to our ability to survive. And I think we should be focusing on survival. Health is one aspect of it, of course. There's no question. But feeding the nation is extremely important as well. And this is where opportunity has presented itself. Let us feed ourselves. Food scarcity in the world is becoming a reality. I don't know if you recall that China has adopted a policy, a clean plate policy, because of their food crisis they're experiencing, where you're not supposed to leave any food on your plate. Just eat all that you take, and don't take as much as your eyes would like you to consume. So we have to take some very, very hard decisions, and I'm waiting on the plan. I don't think what you read out was a plan.
Mm-hmm.
They were just generic objectives that I think it's not unacceptable. But what is important is where is the plan? And the plan now hopefully should be incorporated in the budget. Otherwise, we have no direction to really go. We have no milestones to examine whether the government is meeting its objectives or not.
Yes. Well, the Minister of Finance would have stated that revenue would be at least $10 billion less than the 2020 package, 2019-2020, which was $42 billion, I believe. So then, in other words, you're saying that we will more than likely be looking on a $32 billion budget.
I think his assumptions are wrong. I think it'll be a lot less than 30 million.
Wow.
30 billion. It'll be a lot less than 30 billion.
But what can we possibly do with less than $30 billion?
That is very true. I think we are really in a pickle we are in the middle of a bowl of boiled spaghetti, and we can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. We can't see the light in the sky, and I think very, very dramatic cuts have to take place within government.
But yet still we would have seen just recently at a Ministry of Energy press conference, the Prime Minister sought to basically shed some light on the whole oil and gas sector, and he was talking about BHP doing additional drilling with the return of the Invictus, I believe the name of the ship, that they'll be doing some drilling and all those different things. And it would have seemed that it's all well and good for Trinidad and Tobago, but when we really look at it, reality is there is a low demand for oil and gas, and then the prices are low.
Well, I think it's an inappropriate statement at this point in time. If somebody is starving, you cannot tell them, look, we have just planted some rice and hold on for a year or two.
Yes.
And sorry, whilst it might sound good, I think he has to step up and tell us exactly how are we going to manage this crisis. And the crisis is getting worse for the simple reason additional businesses are closing. They are holding on by, some of them who are still there are holding on by the fingernails, and ultimately they're going to fall into demise. They have been using their savings to try to keep employees and so on together, but ultimately they will say, wait a minute, I'm using up all my savings to keep a company alive that is sure to die. Does it make sense? It does not make sense. What the government has to focus on is to make sure that we can feed the nation through this crisis. Feed the nation through this crisis. And therein lies I would call it, the possibility of redirecting the resources in the country to food production in a very aggressive manner. Very, very aggressive. Okay. Parallel to that, you have to focus on the foreign exchange and how do we preserve it for as long as possible, because if that is finished and we are left in the situation we are in, we have nothing to eat, we have nothing to wear, we have nothing to buy, there's no entertainment. And do we wait for that to happen, or do we now, whatever resources we can get, put it into agricultural production, agricultural agro-processing, and there are a few other things that they can do. But that is what we need to see in the plan.
Okay, so we're going to take a short break, and then we will return with pre-budget discussions right here on U975. And of course, we are joined in studio by financial analyst Ved Siram.
Nicole,
Kathy's Cool Spot Enterprises Limited, number 86 Pearville, opposite the TSTT Exchange in Mayaro. We specialize in all types of meats, dry goods, liqueur, beverages, ice, LPG, gas, motor oils, stationery supplies, and photocopying. We also provide rentals of tents and chairs for your every occasion. Come in and take advantage of our specials at reduced prices on liqueur, wholesale and retail. We are open every day, even on public holidays, for your convenience. TT Post services are available here at Kathy's Cool Spot Enterprises Limited of number 86 Pearville, Mayaro, where our friendly staff will be happy to serve you.
U975 Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio is now on Facebook. Like us, follow and share our page. We'll be sharing the latest news, tips and much more. You can also view what's happening in our studio. Find us on YouTube and subscribe to our channel at RCL U975.
This is Samaru Ramru inviting you on a journey down memory lane with enchanting songs on the program Nightline, Mondays to Thursdays, 9 p.m. to 12 midnight. Let your heart sing along with the music on U975 FM, Hot Like Pepper, Multicultural Radio.
welcome back to the program. It's pre-budget discussions on U975 Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio. And remember, you can call us, join the discussion live in studio at 636-7547 227-5739. You can also send us a WhatsApp at 378-4975. We are live on Facebook at U975FM Multicultural Radio. That's our Facebook page. And you can also check us out on YouTube at RCL U975. Now, during the break, we were chatting a little bit off the air, and you were mentioning, it's time for the government and everybody involved, the opposition and all stakeholders, businesses, and that is something that persons have been saying for the past few weeks, that it's time for the businesses, the business sector, government, opposition, everybody to come together to address this situation, because it is really a bad situation that the country is facing at this time. So you want to elaborate a little bit more on this, Mr. Siram?
Yes, Nicole. I think a good analogy will be is that the Titanic is sinking, and at that point in time, there should be no skirmishes among different parties. We all have to join together and to see what best we can salvage from the ship, or how best we can survive, or how best can we actually put the ship back on course. And my view is very, very simple, is that the worst is yet to come. The government is ill prepared to handle it. The opposition leader said she has great ideas for revenue generation.
Yes.
And I don't think it is time to play games and hide it from the government. Be bold and come out and make your statements and almost instruct the government, if they are good ideas, to implement them. But what are those ideas need to be heard. Those ideas may appear good, but in fact may not be appropriate at this point in time. And I think we have run out of ideas, because what the government has been doing for years is borrowing money and fuel this economy. So if we did experience some growth before, it was because of borrowed money being injected in the economy.
But do you think the government and the opposition can put their differences aside for the best of the country?
Well, I'm saying they have to. And not only that, I think the citizens should call on both of them to put aside those differences, and if there are ideas from one party and the next, is to get together and do it. But there's also a third, I don't want to say third force, but there's definitely a third pool of talent that is available for Trinidad and Tobago. Roger Hussein did call on that and said, look, whether he is part of that third force, but he did identify that there is that the government has to look at ideas from whatever quarters they come from. But if you're not qualified to pilot a plane, you're not qualified, then you're not going to be able to drive that plane. And therein lies our problem. Do we have qualified people? And I think there's so much confusion with regards to what direction to take. So much confusion with regard to the analysis of our current situation. If you have not analyzed it properly, then where are you going? I would ask the first thing with regards to a business plan for Trinidad, let's use that analogy, is that what are your assumptions with regards to COVID?
Yes.
What are your assumptions? If your assumptions are that a vaccine is going to be available within the next 1 month or 2 months, then it's very different than if you expect a vaccine to be available in 2 years' time.
Yes.
Because even if you assume it might be available in a few months' time, that assumption could be wrong. So what is your contingency plan? And I'm not seeing it. I was hoping over the years the government has set up different economic committees, and one recently again was set up. And I'm saying, what is the benefit of all of that, and where do we go forward? What is our plan?
Yes, and we mentioned the opposition again, and just yesterday, the opposition leader would have issued a statement on social media, and she is calling on the government to lower food prices. But lowering food prices in a time like this, when we need to generate income and and stuff like that. How does that fit in?
The government can't instruct people to lower food prices. What they could do is to remove the VAT on it. That's one.
She's calling for the removal of VAT on some items.
No, well, I don't have a problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
For the low, for the basic items, remove the VAT. That's a logical basket, a logical item in the basket of solutions when you're going forward. But at the same time, raise the price on the VAT or raise the duties on expensive items, non-essential items.
Yes, I would say raise the VAT on imported items.
Well,
because our food import bill is so high every year. Every year we have to spend billions of dollars to import food, and we could grow our own food here. We can manufacture our own food here.
We can, but when you raise the prices, the VAT on basic items which are imported, we have to create some kind of plan to substitute it over the next year or 2 years. So over a period of time, we can raise the VAT on all imports.
Yes, like just recently, and you would always mention agriculture, and just recently the chief secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, he has been paying a visit to a number of farms and agriculture farms in Tobago, and he keeps saying that he wants Tobago to supply Trinidad, Tobago, and the Caribbean with our food items, and I would commend him for that, because at least he has a vision to bring in income through our agriculture, exporting our goods out there,
Well, Tobago is another case altogether,
Yes.
because he's asking at the same time for $4 billion
Yes.
to meet his budgetary expenditure for the coming year. Quite frankly, it's outrageous to even ask for $4 billion.
Yes.
I don't know what he's going to do with it. About 65 to 70% of the employed in Tobago is by the THA.
Yes.
And the remaining 30% is employed by that 70%.
Yeah.
So in other words, everything is dependent on... Tobago is not a tourist destination, or is not a tourist industry that is generating money for Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
We have been mistaken for many years, but
Yes.
they're still asking for money. Let us be prepared.
And they were given grants. The hotels were given grants.
Yeah,
Some of them were given grants. $50 million in grants were given to them most recently to do upgrades for tourism.
I think it's a big mistake. So you upgrade the plan, and tourist industry don't pick up for the next 5 years. In the meantime, all the employees are unable to survive, because if they make the investments and the tourists don't come to the numbers you require to break even at least, then what are you going to do with the employees? You're ultimately going to let them go. When you let them go, then you have wasted the money that you renovated your place and so on, and then you have no income coming in, and therefore you have to actually shut up shop. You close your doors, so several of the hotels will close, no doubt.
Yes. Well, some of them would have already started to close because they are not getting any visitors. But most of Tobago's tourism depend on domestic tourism, and the fact that we can't even, there's limited travel on boat and airline, there's nothing taking place. Then even if you travel to Tobago right now, there's nothing you could do.
That is correct. You can't go to the beach, you can't do anything.
Nothing.
So I have no idea what was the logic in saying, look, I'll give you money. If you
to
say,
upgrade.
look, to upgrade.
For who?
What are you upgrading, for whom, and for when? So I don't think those were answered, but rather, and that's what you call helicopter money. You're flying with a helicopter, and you're just throwing money, hoping everyone will be happy and keep quiet. But that's not a solution to our problem. We have to be very specific within a particular plan, within a very specific plan, and that is what we are looking for in this budget. Whether it will come or not, I have my doubts.
Yes, but as we stick to the topic of tourism, and the Prime Minister would have also said it, once our number of cases go down to less than 20 per day, we'll be part of the travel bubble, the CARICOM travel bubble. But the thing is that being Trinidad and Tobago being part of it, where does the revenue go? Where does the tourists go? Would it be to Trinidad or would it be to Tobago? Who is going to benefit from this?
Well, we already caught into the trap where our propensity to to import is so high. So even if a tourist comes to Trinidad, we have to spend his money in importing things to satisfy their needs and enjoyment in Trinidad, in Tobago and Trinidad. So our propensity to import, we have to reduce that. And tourism is not going to give us a solution to that problem. So I think we need very intelligent people at the helm now with very specific plans. We have to make an assumption that COVID will be with us for 3 years. Let's make that assumption. And under that scenario, how do we manage the country? And therefore, if we agree to those assumptions, we must generate some plans for our survival, which will include feeding the nation, which will include non-export of all the waste and the we need to recycle the things that we are sending away, like paper, steel, lots of things we package and we send out as waste, as trash, so we need to recycle those things as plastics and so on. We can start a recycling industry in a very, very big way to put people back to work.
Yes.
I think the government is going to make a big mistake in not creating jobs under this scenario, and therein lies our problem.
And you mentioned recycling, and it takes me back to an issue that is ongoing with the Scrap Iron Dealers Association and Heritage Petroleum, where they want to secure the old Petrotrin scrap, and they would have gone through a process with Heritage, and then only to realize that a bid for public tender was put out, and the association keeps arguing the fact that it's 130 over 135 members would benefit, and these smaller yards are closing, but they employ thousands of people on a daily basis. And I myself would have interacted with some of these people, and they were telling me that if it is they don't get the jobs, they're not working, what they're going to do, go back to a life of crime, because some of them are ex-convicts, some of them that's all they know, and it's a very, very sad thing. And these are people in the lower class in the country, and if they don't have jobs and they don't have that little hustle on the side, it's difficult for them. So, and then here we have the Prime Minister, we have the government talking about job creation. So then, in other words, you're saying one thing, but you're doing something else, because you're more or less taking away jobs, So.
Well, I think the sale of that particular scrap, if it goes to the recycler, the people who are collecting scrap, right, the Scrap Dealers Association, if it goes to somebody else, it means to say that other person will employ as well.
Yes.
So even without the sale of the Petrotrin scrap, the question I would ask is, how did the Scrap Dealers Association surviving without Petrotrin scrap?
Well, actually, without they have seen a decline. A 60% decline in the amount of scrap they would have been getting. That was some of the arguments that they would have raised. So a lot of it now, it's they're depending highly on that scrap.
That source of scrap.
Yes, they said even the grade, because I was trying to understand the industry a little bit, and they said even the grade of scrap that they iron and steel, what that they would send it export, has been downgraded, and they're not getting much money as well for it. But I see we have a call on the line. Want to entertain that call?
Sure.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, good people.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Sira.
Hi, good afternoon.
I think tourism and all its associates have to take a dip for the next 3 years. I agree with you. Because even though you open back the borders, people are not traveling because they just don't have the resources to travel. You understand? And if we continue to pay like CDC or what you call Carnival Development Committee officials exorbitant monies for doing nothing, then the only thing we're doing is paying people, to be nice. The other thing is, one of the ways they could cut expenditure is to see all those perks that all those people get, slash it by a great percent, because I am sure that some of them get exorbitant perks. Where's the house allowance for the president and the prime minister? I know I must get you off guard.
Yeah.
But I think
You wanna repeat the question?
He wants to know what's the allowance for the president and the prime minister.
Oh gosh, thousands. I know the The housing allowance alone was, I think, 28,000 or something like that for the president. And she's not using the building.
Right? Now, those things could be cut significantly or cut off if even for a year or two. Because if you're not using it, why continue to benefit from it? Are you going to take CPEP and your RP workers to put them into agriculture? How many of them you think will go? You understand? Or are we going to continue to paint stones when we don't need to paint stones?
Mhm.
A lot of these things we need to put into proper perspective.
No, that is true. Every expenditure item has to be examined, and nothing is sacrosanct anymore. We have to recognize that we're becoming a poor country, and we can look at Ghana for some ways of survival skills. Ghana, when you look at, they survived a long period of financial drought, and we have to look to Ghana how it was before it's changed overnight, and Ghana can change overnight, you know. But the problem is, for us, we are also changing overnight in the opposite direction to Ghana. So we have to look to other countries to see how they survive the economic distress, and see what are the things they did that we can learn and adapt. And precisely that exercise is not being entertained by the government, the opposition, neither the country planners, neither the economists.
We talk about property tax. I heard in part the minister $40 a year for the last 10 years that they pay, right? But what he said to is that people in HDC apartments who are renting HDC apartments will not be required to pay. Now we know a lot of people in HDC.
But some of them have not been paid.
Well, all right. Listen to this. A lot of them are middle class workers. A lot of them, especially in the protective services, get HDC apartments because of situation and circumstances, and they are up there, but yet you are allowing them not to pay property tax.
Yes.
What is good for one
must be good for all.
Must be good for all. If I have to pay $500 a year, I don't mind. You understand? I live in my own home and I'm happy for that. But in the same, and then when you look at it on the other side of the coin, those houses are severely subsidized. The cost of putting up one of those units is, let me say $1 million for argument's sake, right? And you might be paying $800 a month as a what do you call it? Not a subsidy, man. As an installment, right? As a mortgage. And after 30 years, it becomes yours, right? Do the maths. You will realize that at the end of the day, all you're paying is $300,000 for a $1 million unit. You understand? So you're being heavily subsidized. That's not correct, Mr. Zira?
Yeah, but what happens? The government has to decide: can they afford giving that subsidies again? And they can't. They cannot. So HDC now, I'm asking a question. HDC, after all these years of getting land from government virtually free, if they cannot stand on their own, and the HDC should be self-financing, they should not be depending on subsidies from government anymore.
But you know the thing is that, okay, you are providing houses. That's a state responsibility to provide houses, and even though we spend more than we make it, we provide it. You understand?
Yeah, but
settlements, who's going to pay? They're not going to pay. You understand?
yeah, but I don't think the Constitution says the government must provide free housing. No, and then you fall under discrimination.
Yeah, because what is the stock unit of the HCC right now?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but it's probably enormous.
So let me say 200,000 houses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's apartments or houses.
Mm-hmm.
So are you going to tell me 200,000 house owners or renters or mortgagers or whatever you want to call them, they will be getting off scot-free from paying $40 a year or $50 a year for property tax, whilst the person with the individual house who build his house on his own strength, you understand? Maybe with family support, etc., but who actually build a house on a piece of land that he may have purchased, whatever, have to pay that, and they who get government subsidized housing don't have to pay that.
Well, my position on property tax, it should not be there in the first place. And you have identified one of the problems. It is a tax that is that the government is incapacitated to administer that tax equitably, and therefore, under those circumstances, it should not be introduced. That is just one item that goes against instituting a property tax.
You see, if everything is done above board and it affects everybody, I don't have a problem with it. But when there are certain sectors of the community who are benefiting and having others to pay for it, I have a problem.
Well, let me put it to you this way. If you are unemployed and you have to pay property tax and you are unable to, would you still want to pay it?
No.
Right. So let's extend that argument a little bit.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If you're unemployed.
Exactly. But do you know what is the unemployment rate in Trinidad today?
Well, I mean, pre-COVID, remember the government had a chant: unemployment is 3%, 4%, wherever. Right? Now with COVID, it may go up to about 10 or 12%.
Yeah, but I think this is where we don't have accurate data. This is pre. Yeah, but pre-COVID, a university lecturer in economics, he said unemployment is probably 15%.
So why are the figures being?
Well, I don't know I don't know how you're managing, how you're driving a car and your temperature gauge, you cannot rely on it. Your gas gauge, you can't rely on it. You're speeding and you don't know. You're showing 40 miles an hour when in fact you're over 80 miles an hour. That is how we are managing the country.
In fact, what was being told to us is what they think we want to hear.
No, but if you don't get the data right, and this is a major concern. Say, for example, in the developed countries, you can get, in fact, you have it on a ticker screen, the level of government debt, the level of the city debt of the city, different cities, and so on. You're getting that on a second by second basis.
Look, my brother lives in Canada. He was telling me that he didn't even have to leave his house to apply for COVID benefits, because they have overall information inside of the system. In Trinidad, you have to go and line up in the hot sun, buy social welfare, and still 3-4 months gone, and you're still not getting nothing.
No, your cost of collection in Trinidad is more than the benefits that you get. You know, many times you are sent back by some government institution to say, look, come back next week. And these are poor people. These are very poor people. They don't have their cars. They have to wait on a bus to reach the town, and then they're told, come back next week. And that accounts for a significant amount of traffic on the road. It's this is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. We as a nation have to wake up and say, wait a minute, are we to be treated in this manner, and for how long again?
Well, I mean, the sycophants will say my party is this and my party is that, but they're not facing the reality.
Well, that's just the point I'm making. When you're drowning in the ship, are you going to say I'm PNM or I am UNC? You're both drowning together, and that's what's going to happen.
It's not about party anymore. It's about country.
No, it's about survival.
Yes.
And that is the mode we ought to be in. Survival mode.
Yes.
This thing about perking up the economy again, stimulating the economy is nonsense. When a man... No, all that is nonsense. Total nonsense. And we should not be wasting time. And do you know how much time is being spent by politicians and country planners and economists, whether it's a 1% increase in GDP and whether it's 2%, whether it's 4%, whether it's minus 1%. How does that affect you?
All the people want to hear when the budget what are rice and flour is. They don't want to know about index figures.
Rice, flour, sugar, and oil.
And 2015, the government spent X, Y, Z, and they didn't have it, and now we have to come and balance and do all. We don't want to know that. We want to know if, like, electricity bill raises, if gas bill raises, a phone bill. You understand?
That is true. That is
It's
true.
lots of what people want to hear. Look, we have 3 hour long speech, and half of it doesn't apply to.
All right, well, caller,
Okay.
sorry to cut you.
Thank
will
you.
have to call. You will have to call back to take the top of the hour now. All right, no problem. Thank you.
Time has come. New 97.5. Make it your choice. Something for everyone. 97.5 FM. Music for you. It's all about you.
U975 FM, Hot Like Pepper, Multicultural Radio.
Power to the listeners.
Join our pre-budget discussions on U975 FM, Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio, every Monday from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. with financial analyst Ved Siram and other experts in the field of economics. Our pre-budget discussions will focus on all stakeholders in the economy and what they expect. You can also join our post-budget discussion on Monday, 5th October 2020, right here on U975 FM, Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio.
You've been waiting. You've been asking. Now, are you ready?
Are you ready for the hottest Sunday morning radio show? Murtani Sundays returns! Tune in to U975 FM, Hot Like Pepper Radio, every Sunday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. with yours truly, the DJ Flavio Experience. We pop in again every Sunday. U975 FM, Hot Like Pepper, Multicultural Radio.
You think this come with a free pass?
Gosh, boy, I can't wait to go home now.
Stuck in traffic again, Hare Babri.
Well, guess what? Your day is about to get hotter than ever in the afternoon. It's the new afternoon drive time program on U975 FM, Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio. Tune in Monday to Friday from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. with yours truly, the DJ Flavio Experience. Let's make it hotter than ever in the afternoon. Great music, great info, and great vibes. Hotter than ever in the afternoon. Monday to Friday, 3 to 6 p.m. on U975 FM, Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio.
And welcome back to our pre-budget discussions here on U975 FM, Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio. My name is Nicole Duki, and we have in studio financial analyst Ved Siram. And remember, you can call us at 636-7547, 227-5739, or you can WhatsApp us at 378-4975. And we do have a caller on the line. Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You know, I don't think that we should be recognizing, apart from the purchasing power for foreign food, we have a situation migrant workers are not able to produce as they want. They have to go back home. COVID. We have shipping being affected by COVID. So we're going to have a serious situation in food production. So I agree to 100% that it's food production, but the next thing I want to draw attention to, we have 150 state enterprises doing what ministry is supposed to do. There were just situations created to give your big boyfriend something, a nice raise, nice job. If these state enterprises are cut back and back to ministries as we were prior to 1976, we're in good business. Because most of our money is being wasted in state enterprises. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for that call.
Thank you, caller. And this is what government should come in the budget and say, look, we have to shrink our administration by X amount. We have to close down all these extra companies. Why do we have a sports company when you have Ministry of Sports?
Yes.
So we have to look at all of that, and that is where government comes in. They have been elected to lead, and we are in a very rough financial state at the moment. We are not too sure what's the final effect of COVID. Obviously, it's a cancer that is eroding the society very, very fast. And the government has to come and convince this population that they have a plan to deal with it.
Yes. But you mentioned cutbacks, and there has been the cry from Mr. Alan Sami, the chairman of the Penal Debe Regional Corporation. And in most recent times, we would have heard the new elected chairman of the mayor of Shogunas, Faik Mohammed, would have made the same statement just at different times, where they're saying that the regional corporations are severely starved for funding, and now they're predicting with lower revenue in the budget, it's going to be even worse, and it's not enough for them to conduct their daily activities. But sometimes you look around and you're still not seeing the work being done. And the question is whether or not they have the funding and they're not doing it, or whether or not they really do not have the funding to do this.
No, I think they've been starved of funding. What happens under those circumstances? They say, okay, central government will say, we'll give you minimum funding to pay the wages and salaries, but we are not giving you money to buy the necessary supplies. So what's the point of paying wages and salaries when they don't have the tools to work? And that's why perhaps a lot of employees for the regional corporation just turn up to work and may leave early. And so the whole structure of governance is coming to a halt.
Yes, but it brought me back to a statement that would have been made by the newly appointed Minister of Public Utilities as it relates to WASA, and billions of dollars pumped into the authority every year, and most of this goes to wages and salaries. And it leaves one to wonder, why do we have to pay so much for wages and salaries when there are other things that needs to be done with WASA?
Yeah, well, WASA is a recurring problem for many, many years. The government had tried to get foreign management in for a period of time. They did, and was with the idea of privatizing WASA as you go along. But privatization of the water system has come under severe pressures in developed countries such as France and so on.
Yes.
That perhaps that is not the best way to go, because when a private organization gets into these utilities, basic supplies of water and electricity, is that they want economical return, a commercial return, and therefore, apart from trying to be as efficient as possible, they also pass on pretty hefty prices. And Trinidad prices in terms of water is low, that is correct.
Yes.
We have not had international benchmarks, we have not followed that. In terms of electricity, we are paying less than 5 US cents.
Well, according to the minister, we get 80% subsidies on our electricity.
That is correct. But to say, come and remove all the subsidies in one fell swoop, it's really going to destroy this nation as we know it.
Yes.
The problem here now is that government don't have the money to provide the subsidies.
Yes.
So I'm very fearful for this budget. I think there are certain things to navigate that perhaps the government is wary and concerned that, look, it will impact on their putting popularity in inverted commas. But we have to take very strong decisions. And the last time we discussed it when Dr. Botiwari was here, is that government has to come and level with the nation with regards to the state of affairs.
Yes.
And chart out a very firm path of where this economy ought to be going and how we need to restructure this economy to not depend on borrowing and on the oil and gas sectors. And therefore that would require a restructuring of how people are employed. In other words, what industries should emerge and what industries should die. At the moment, retail industries overall, a broadband, they're too large. Everybody's retailing something. And the volumes of demand is no longer there. And therefore, they have to close. So it doesn't make sense. The SME saying, come and help us, help us, help us. We need extra money to survive. What government ought to be doing, Let us see the individuals in that organization, how we can help them. One, how we can help them eat. If they're going to lose their homes because the banks are going to get very vicious, what policies can we put in place to ensure that the banks grant further forbearance? But the banks are also in trouble.
Yes.
So we are in trouble right around. The property owners, they must receive their rent in order for them to pay the banks, mortgages and so on. So the whole world is connected, and we have to say, how do we try to manage this country in such a way that we survive for the next 12 months to 1 year. But in that process, why can't we focus on feeding ourselves? In other words, that is where you create jobs, sustainable jobs. And to feed yourselves, there several things can be done. A whole program could be designed to work on that particular strategy, because if we agree that we need to feed ourselves and be self-sufficient in food over the next 3 years, we have to ask the government, what is your plan for doing so? And this will include your exchange rate management. How do we manage the exchange rate? How do we manage it in a negative list in terms of giving people foreign exchange to buy certain things? We can cap that, we can control that, and we could direct it in a certain manner to benefit the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago and benefit the industries for which we wish to promote.
Yes. Well, again, at this time, we are going to take a short break, and when we return, we will continue with our pre-budget discussions right here on U975 Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio.
A&S Hardware and the General Contractors Limited of 107 Bonaventure Road in Gasparillo for all your hardware materials from foundation to finish. Not forgetting all your general contracting needs. We have it all at A&S Hardware and the General Contractors Limited, located at 107 Bonaventure Road in Gasparillo. Just call Tiki Ali at 650-2180.
A&S Hardware are wholesalers and retailers of plywood, an assortment of lumber, galvanized pipe, hollow section, and steel. Customers can enjoy special prices on white pine and pitch pine doors.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace and the blessings of Almighty Allah be upon each and every one of you. My name is Shazad Ali, and here's an invitation to join me every weekday morning 5 o'clock for the program Teachings of Islam right here on U975 FM. Assalamu alaikum.
We shopping at Durban supermarkets. Hey, come down. We'll value at Durban supermarket. Shop now at Durban supermarket. Come to Durban supermarket. We got the best prices for your pockets. Get real value for your money. Durban supermarket treats you like family. Nothing overpriced, it's guaranteed for sure. Save big at Durban and shop even more. Real value to Durban supermarket. We got the best prices for your pockets. Take advantage of unbelievable deals at Durban Supermarket, number 28 Foster Road in Sangre Grande. Durban Supermarket and Investment Limited, giving you real value for your money.
It's the talk of the town. It's Talk It Talk on U975 FM, Monday to Thursday from 6 to 9 p.m. So join me, your host Mukesh Baburam, on a 3-hour journey guaranteed to take your stress away. Remember, Monday to Thursday, right here on U975 FM.
And welcome back to the program. So it's just about 5:14 here in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, and you are on to U975 FM, Hot Like Pepper, Multicultural Radio, and it's our pre-budget discussions taking place right here in the studio. And I have with me financial analyst Ved Siram. Now, before we continue with our discussion, we have a call on the line. Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, good evening, my lady.
Good evening.
Is Mr. Siram?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening. How are you all?
Very well, thanks.
We're good.
Well, I like to say something contributive. I like how the problem is handled. There's no remorse, disgust, or disappointment. And it shows that everybody's opinions is important, very positive for it. What I'd like to say, I had a statement from radio station earlier on with the Prime Minister. And the Prime Minister said, I want you all to know we are not taking all, but we are leaving a little bit. Everything should be shared equally amongst all our people. And not only that, the finance minister, this foreigner, he's claiming that the last administration overspent.
Yes, that was his claim.
Who did the last administration spend the money on? What did they spend the money on? I can't understand that. What are you trying to tell us? You're always blaming somebody for your wrongdoing, except the fact and the reality that all you have things that all they holding on to things, all they can control. And our people is paying the prices. I'm not going to accept that. Because I think yesterday morning, a young man spoke to our next station that the Prime Minister right because the income they get in was less than the amount they have to pay. Why was Petrotrin overstaffed to that level for political mileage? And they crippled Petrotrin, and they want to tell us that it just costing to pay, they have to pay out too much. Everybody wants political mileage. They push them at Petrotrin because they look at the strength, and they believe only on one thing, which was the oil and gas revenue, which collapsed on them, and they are collapsing on all too. I'm very sorry. If I was too rough, I'm sorry.
That's
but
okay.
these are the things we have to look at.
Yes.
Right? Don't blame anybody else. Blame your damn self. I thank you. Have a good day.
Okay. Thank you very much for your contribution. And, during the break, we were discussing the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. And it has mentioned that there is just about $6 billion in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. And I was asking you if it would be enough to run the country. And you were telling me that it would be for another 2 years or so?
Yeah, roughly 2 years. I think they have reached the limit, the borrowing capacity. I think banks will be very wary about lending to government. They could get some money from the IMF. They could get some money from the multilateral agencies, the lenders. But by and large, I think the commercial banks, they are reeling under the COVID with a significant portion of their loans going bad. And I do not think that the commercial banks will be so willing to lend the government as before, seeing that the situation has developed to the state we are in. So government source of funding, major source of funding will have to be the Heritage and Stabilization Fund.
Yes.
They can also make some changes to the Green Fund. I think about $2 to $3 billion is there. So they might be searching the cupboards to see what funds they could access or not. And I think that's the way that they'll have to go. But using up those funds to survive for the next 1 year, 2 years, would leave us in a very, very precarious position in that'll be 2023.
Yes.
Very precarious position. And 2023 is still within the 5 years that the government has been appointed for. So they could use it with the hope that some miracle occurs and we get back to normal, however we wish to define normal. But I think it will be myopic not to do other things in the meantime. You can use the fund, but it must be for productive purposes. If you're going to use it just to meet recurrent expenditure, it'll be a total waste of that particular fund that we have. And I think this is where government will be evaluated on how best they use the fund to generate additional jobs for Trinidad, become self-sufficient in food, have recycling so that we reduce our propensity to import, do some other investments. The government cannot leave the direction of this economy by virtue of relying on the private sector. The private sector is in disarray at the moment.
Yes.
No CEO at this point in time can come out and say, we are confident of facing the future and this is our plan to do so. They are in a quandary themselves, and government cannot abdicate their responsibility at this crucial point in time. Whilst blaming the last government, and the last government happens to be a PNM government, perhaps they have to blame the previous administration. I think the population gotten wary to that strategy, and they're looking for concrete solutions. So I think blaming PPP and Kamla now is almost a stale joke.
Yes.
It's a stale joke. I don't think the population wants to hear that anymore. What we want to hear is, what are your concrete plans? Now, I cannot say with a great level of certainty that they have no plans. I think they should be given a chance.
Yes.
The budget is just a week again. Let's give them a chance and see what direction they're going to take this country. But do a proper analysis of this financial state of affairs. Do a proper revelation and declaration of the total loans that we have, how much we have to pay. Do a total analysis of what you are going to do to reduce the level of governance, the level of government in Trinidad and Tobago. It has grown too large, much too large, and we are now existing as an upside down pyramid where very few persons are working productively. The bulk in the center are based on services which depend on that real economy producing something. And then on top of that, you have a huge administration structure that, quite frankly, do not produce wealth. They do not produce wealth.
Yes, and I'm just taking the words from the Prime Minister today. He said they're not doing things vike. But I just wanted to, you mentioned recurrent expenditures, and just for the purpose of persons who don't understand what recurrent expenditures in a budget is, could you just explain in the simplest terms what you meant by recurrent expenditures?
Yeah, when you're managing a business or managing a government, you have certain recurrent expenditure which can be defined at what you have to meet. Those are the wages and salaries. Those are that are required by law, for example, pension funds and so on. So those are your recurrent expenditure. You differentiate between your recurrent expenditure and capital expenditure. Capital expenditure is when you're going to take money. I would consider, let's say, building new roads is clearly a capital expenditure.
Yes.
Going to build an airport in Tobago is considered a capital expenditure. Going to build the waterfront in San Fernando is a capital expenditure. But there are certain expenditures that fall in between recurrent and capital, such as maintenance of roads, essential maintenance of roads, essential maintenance of your buildings. In other words, those are things that you have to make expenditures on just to keep the air condition going so that people can come to work. So really, that category in the middle can also be included in recurrent expenditure as essential to keep the business functioning, and to keep government functioning. So if most of the revenues are coming in to meet the recurrent expenditure, which I believe is the case now, that they do not have money for capital expenditures. They don't have it. Now, whilst you could be borrowing, yes, you could borrow for capital expenditure. If that capital expenditure does not generate any revenues.
Yes. So the projects, like road projects that they would have started, the overpass and the road projects that be from Toco to Valencia or something along those lines. So those would fall under recurrent expenditure.
No.
No?
Those are
Okay.
capital expenditures.
Capital, okay.
So what government should do at this stage, because this is, call it an act of God, and most of the contracts have a force majeure clause. Let's say if there's an act of God, then we cannot fulfill our part of the contract, right?
Yes.
So therefore, government should take the stand that all these capital expenditures that they contracted, that they say, look, we cannot continue with it, and they just do not have the funding for it. If there's anything that can be designed as an act of God, is the virus that we are experiencing now.
Mm-hmm.
Many analysts and commentators have said that in their whole life they've never experienced something like this, and this is unprecedented.
Yes.
It is unprecedented, and government has to now take a hard look at what they have committed to do and change courses. In a crisis, a good leader will make immediate adjustments. There's nothing to debate about it. A good leader will make adjustments. If you are traveling on a road and suddenly there's a sinkhole in front of you, you cannot say, no, I can't, I would not mash my brakes, I'm committed to going forward, and you go forward. You crash the whole economy, and that's what's going to happen if there are no immediate changes. So all these capital projects should be put on hold. And if you need to engage the contractors, put them to work in preparation of the land, and put them to work with the necessary contractual arrangement to get agriculture going, because that has to be our priority at this stage, feeding the nation and housing the nation. Housing the nation, when I say housing, I'm looking at people who are out in the streets, who have just been chucked out of their house. Their house has been confiscated by the banks, and those are the people I'm talking about who will now be homeless. Now, what the interim possibility is that they go by family and live. They go back to their mothers and fathers who will perhaps still have a house without a mortgage. And that is the kind of direction that is going to take place in Trinidad and Tobago. And government will have to say, how can I facilitate that? When you have unemployed, let's say a parent have unemployed children who were well employed a few months ago and now who are unemployed, who cannot pay their debt, the bailiffs are coming to take up their security for the banks, then the parents of the home have to welcome these people back, their children back to the home, and live as an extended family. Under those circumstances, are you going to tax these people more by property tax, where they could hardly meet their day-to-day living expenditures by way of food and so on? So I think the government is really in a very, very difficult position, and they have to make, quite frankly, some of the decisions are very easy. Do we need, I think there are 20 or 30 embassies around the world. Do we need all of that at this point in time? No.
We don't have any travel going on, do we?
Exactly. So we don't need them.
But this would not be the first time that the country is in an economic crisis.
The recession and depression of the 1980s are very different than now. Very, very different.
How so?
How so? We were more diversified then. Right. We still had an agricultural sector. We still had a sugarcane sector. We still had rice cultivation. We still had food cultivation. And then the 1990s, we had actually run out. We had run out of foreign exchange. We were negative. And then I think in 1993, we had the LNG plant coming on stream.
Yes.
And that kick-started the economy once again. In our case now, we do not have those local industries anymore.
Right.
We don't.
Yes.
Secondly, the virus has locked down the country.
Yes.
In the 1980s, people were still moving
Traveling,
around freely and trying to hustle. Then in the 1980s, there was a great, pressure relief valve. There were tremendous amount of persons leaving the country and going away. So that was a release valve.
Yes.
Over here now, we cannot travel. So that pressure is building locally.
And then we have a lot of persons who are returning.
Whenever they can.
Yes.
They will be
Granted
returning.
exemptions and coming,
Because
yes.
the whole world now is virtually on a lockdown.
Yes.
And those countries who have tried to reopen quickly realize, wait a minute,
have to
the
go
spread
back
has
to
started, let's go back.
restrictions, yes.
Right. So I think there have to be a different way of managing it, but we are much worse off now
Yes.
in 2020 than in 1983 when that recession started.
That sounds very, very frightening, I must
Well,
say.
I don't think we ought to be frightened. We ought to recognize the facts and say, what can we do about it? And I made this comment before, when your house is on fire, there's no time to be frightened.
Yes.
There's time for action.
Mhm.
Afterwards, you could be frightened trying to remember the experiences. But when a boat is sinking, there's no time to be frightened. If you're ahead of the ship,
Take
you have to do
action.
something, take action.
Understood.
So let's not be frightened as yet, because I think there is still hope, and that is why I'm saying let us see what plan is available to manage under this situation. And perhaps we are overreacting. We are overreacting with regards to COVID-19.
Yes.
And certain countries have managed it very well, and we have to take example
Just
from
right
it.
in the Caribbean, we would have seen countries managing the COVID-19 situation very well.
Well, are they fully locked down, not allowed to go outside, or are they allowing movement to
They
some extent?
are allowing movement to some extent.
Yeah, we can keep
Yes.
we can keep social distance in the fields. You
Yes. Yes.
know. You hoe 6 feet away, and I'll hoe 6 feet away.
Yes. Yes.
I'll cut something 6 feet away. You cut something.
Mhm.
You go and clean the cocoa tree 6 feet away, and
Yes.
I'll do it here.
Yes.
So there's a lot of work to be done
Mhm.
because we have to feed the nation.
We do.
There's a lot of work. Let's
Yes.
get started there. And I know for a fact some of the food processing plants,
Yes.
they have managed now with social distancing to still manage the process.
Mhm.
So there are certain things, but the administration is not talking about it.
Yes.
Not talking about it.
Okay. Well, we do have to take another short break, and we will return with our pre-budget discussions after these.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors and roti makers. Try our high quality unbleached bromate free all purpose and baker's flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisha Limited 665-3336 or visit us at Warrenville, Canupia. Shiklisha Limited, quality you can trust.
For quality items, visit Super Quality Supermarket of Endeavour Road, Chaguanas, and Trin City Industrial Estate in Trin City, as well as Quality Cash and Carry Supermarket, Cuba Car Park, for all your grocery items, liquor, fresh fruits, and vegetables, not forgetting their bed and bath section, and kitchen appliances for your home. With so many items to choose from, take advantage of our great prices and discounts at any of our 3 locations: Trin City Industrial Estate in Trin City, Endeavour Road, Chaguanas, and Cuba. For quality items, Super Quality Supermarket and Quality Cash and Carry Supermarket.
Gosh, boy, I can't wait to go home now.
Stuck in traffic again, Hare Babri.
Well, guess what? Your day is about to get hotter than ever in the afternoon. It's the new afternoon drive time program on U975 FM, Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio. Tune in Monday to Friday from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. with yours truly, the DJ Flavia Experience. Let's make it hotter than ever in the afternoon. Great music, great info, and great vibes. Hotter than ever in the afternoon. Monday to Friday, 3 to 6 p.m. on U975 FM, Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio.
And welcome back to pre-budget discussions here on U975 FM. And I still have the pleasure of the company of Mr. Ved Siram, financial analyst, and we just want to touch a little bit before we close off on the issue of agriculture. And I would have had the experience of chatting with some farmers one farmer in the Arangwes area was saying that, the government in itself needs to do more for the agriculture sector, and he was speaking of the issue of cold storage for these farmers to put their produce so that it wouldn't spoil, all those different things. And then we would have had a younger farmer in the Orange Grove area. He was telling me that they've been begging for NAMDEFCO to take their produce or buy all their produce and put it out there into the market to make it easier for them. And that, of course, still has not happened. And a lot of over the years, you'd always hear people saying, and those in the agriculture sector in particular, saying that more needs to be done for the sector. Even simple things like agricultural access roads, people are complaining about all those different things. Then they have to put up with issues like predial larceny. Now, if we have to depend on these people to feed us, then we really need to place more emphasis on this sector and give them what they need.
That is very true. We saw in the Barpo area where
flooding last week.
Flooding is one, and then where a lot of farmers lost
animals. Yes.
And I think perhaps we should give chasing down criminals arrest and go and arrest these people.
Yes.
That can easily be done by way of proper security and so on, and cameras. That is where we need to invest our money. But coming back to the farmer who said that he wants NAMDEFCO to take off his product, that is an essential aspect of getting the agricultural sector going, a guaranteed market and a guaranteed price.
Yes.
If they do that and we get the system going to feed ourselves, then later on we could relax that and government will say, okay, I can guarantee you 80%, guarantee 70%, etc. But that is an essential ingredient to get the farmers cracking. You remember, farmers are more conversant in working the land and growing things.
Yes.
Marketing is a very different set of skill set that you require. And it's a case where that we can do it if we are serious about agriculture. Now, when NAMDEFCO are instructed to buy all the produce of these farmers at a guaranteed price, it means to say that the farmer could now produce as much as he can within the plot that he's working, and he knows that there's a market available.
Yes.
Of course, there's a predial larceny risk in the meantime, risk of fires and so on, and there are other ways to address it.
What about cold storage? And that's something that they have.
Well, that is where NAMDEFCO now will take the responsibility, what they do with that produce. Now, this is a huge opportunity for us to get involved with agro-processing, because one of the benefits of agro-processing is the preservation of food. And this is where we can get involved. And pineapple is a classic example.
Yes.
Pineapple, it is cyclical, it's seasonal, and therefore in the harvest season, you harvest all that you can. You can sell some to the fresh market, and you could also process the balance by fairly small plants, fairly small. And the government has to say, okay, I'm going to invest in a processing plant, about 10 processing plants around Trinidad, or much more than that, and work that as cooperatives with the farmers. So when the government now will be the initial investor, and this is where I hope they can use the part of the Heritage and Stabilization Fund in precisely these sort of things, rather than recurrent expenditure which just goes down the drain.
But just recently they would have opened an agro-processing plant in Maruga, I believe.
Yeah, I think they overspent on it, but I don't know what's the
$90 million, I believe they spent on it?
90 million I think was just for the building itself and the storage facilities and so on. And then you have to now invest in particular machinery to do the processing. Yeah, so it'll be more than 90 million.
Yes.
But I'm saying those things can be accomplished at a much cheaper price.
Right.
But pineapple is just one.
Yes.
Why can't we now say, let's say we are no longer importing orange. Within 3 years, we're going to phase off importation of orange, 3 or 5 years or whatever, and start replanting our orange fields, citrus, right?
Yes.
So there's so much to be done, but where is the emphasis? The danger I'm seeing is that government says, look, I'm going to give agriculture another 500 million.
Yes, but I think with what is happening and the things that the farmers experience. I think they, at some level, they are disenchanted. So they need to give them something to encourage them.
I wrote an article several months ago.
Yes.
I said farmers' time has come.
Yes.
If farmers are not getting together and demand from the government what they want, then who is to serve them?
Yes.
People in Port of Spain, there may be a few within cabinet who might have done some kind of farming, but they're not there day to day to understand the problem.
Yes.
If farmers are silent and depending on the opposition and depending on this one or the representative and so on, those people have divorced themselves from farming. They don't understand farming.
Yes.
So they have to get together as a group and demand or at least express their wishes directly to government. This is what we want, and if we do get A, B, and C, this is what we promise to do. We can produce, let's say, rice. Let's take rice farmers. Rice farmers could come forward and say, look, we would like to lease 5,000 acres of land at appropriate place in Trinidad. We'd like to get some kind of funding in terms of land preparation for equipment and so on. And we promise to deliver 50% of our demand for rice in 2 years' time. Where is the plan?
Yes.
Where is the plan? So we as citizens cannot just sit back and hope government to know and anticipate what you need, what are your requirements. We have to make demands.
Yes, but very sad to say, in that same conversation with these farmers, they would have mentioned to me that our own people, our Trinidadian people, they refuse to work the lands, to get a job, to come and work in the garden. They have to depend on foreign labor, which are these Venezuelan migrants who are here. They are the ones who would quicker do a day work, as they call it, when compared to our own Trinidadians. So, and that is very sad, because we are dependent on, we want to feed ourselves, and we need, and not only that, it's about creating jobs. It may not be the easiest of jobs, but it is, but it's very sad to know, disheartening to know that we are not eager to assist in that regard as Trinidadians.
What has to be done is that we have to put agriculture on a pedestal now. Lower the ranking of oil and gas for the time being. Put agriculture on a pedestal. Give the farm workers an adequate salary. The argument against all of that is to say that, look, it is cheaper to import. And that is true at the moment. That is because our currency is overvalued. If we adjust our currency, you're going to see, I would consider it a great leap in agriculture once it is coupled with guaranteed markets and guaranteed prices by the government. I can see major changes taking place. The other thing government has to do is the importation of a lot of the food stuff. They have to say, look, we don't need A, B, and C.
Yes.
I'll give you one simple example which I use often. Why are we importing dehydrated sorrel from Egypt? Please explain that to me. A dehydration plant is less than maybe $5,000 US. Can't government come and say, look, we have this dehydration facility available. You can just bring in your crops and we will dehydrate it for you.
Yes.
Now dehydration, it lengthens the life of crops. And Philippines has done a marvelous job. A few years ago, they were not even in the market for dehydrated mangoes and so on. And they have now captured the bulk of the international market with those produce. We get them to buy here as well.
Yes.
We can do that with our Julie mango.
Right.
But the good thing about starting to do things locally is you deepen the economy. So you have your dehydration.
Yes.
You create your Philippines, and they already created the market, and with good advertising we could expand the market locally. We have farmers, or this is not even farmers, but these are people who are gatherers, are gathering mangoes to bring into a processing plant, who will do the actual peeling and the cutting and the slicing that goes into dehydration, and we go into packaging. So we can do all of that now. But where's the vision? Where are the ideas? And we're putting people back to work. Do you know how much mango is just wasted in Trinidad? If you look at the health benefit of mangoes,
yes,
I am surprised at it. You know, we are all surprised at the health benefits of ordinary things we just pass by and pay little or
yes,
nothing.
yes. I'm not a fan of mangoes, but you know.
No, but if I just harvested, I don't know if that's the correct word, of 3 mangoes on a peri mango.
Right.
Peri mango is from wherever.
Mm-hmm.
But that was so tasty.
Yes.
That if you eat it, you might change your opinion about mangoes, right?
Half-ripe mango in chow. So I'm sure I'm getting
Right.
the health benefits from it still.
But okay, look at the mangoes.
yes.
You can make a drink with it. You agree with that?
Yes. Ice cream.
You can make purees and you can make ice cream with it.
Yes.
So that's your dessert. You can make curry mangoes, right? That's your terkari. That's your vegetable, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah.
Right? And then you can make chow, eat it in mango in the raw.
Right.
So I'm saying we are not utilizing God's gift to us
Yes.
by food that is just thrown away. A breadfruit, to my understanding, it's a very healthy fruit, I suppose. Breadfruit.
Yes, breadfruit, yes.
Right. It's a very healthy fruit,
Mhm.
but we have not propagated it. We have not.
A lot of people they're not fans of breadfruits.
And but when you're hungry, you'll be glad to eat it.
It actually tastes good. I will eat that.
Right, and how you prepare it as well.
Yes.
Do you know in India, they actually curry banana flowers. The flowers from banana, they pluck that and they curry it.
Right.
They curry yam. I spoke to one of the farmers in South. He said he also curries yam.
I've never heard about that curry yam.
But there are different ways to prepare things.
Yes.
We are open up to the world with the internet.
Mhm.
I'm sure we can, if I give you the job, come up with 10 new recipes with the things that we grow
have
here.
here.
10 new recipes that are tasty. In other words, you are going to experiment to
On
see which is the
difference,
one,
yes.
and say, wait, look, I have 10 that people cannot refuse. Okay?
Yes.
So I'm saying we can sit and mope, you know.
Yeah.
We can do that. We can sit and get depressed, and under those conditions, believe me, things will just deteriorate further.
Mhm.
I'm looking at this as a very exciting time. So finally, people will get up and realize we have to diversify.
Okay, great. Well, we have to take another break before we wrap up today's program. So we'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll wrap up.
This is Samaru Ramru inviting you on a journey down memory lane with enchanting songs on the program Nightline. Mondays to Thursdays, 9 p.m. to 12 midnight. Let your heart sing along with the music on U975 FM, Hot Like Pepper, Multicultural Radio.
My name is Nicole Dookie, and I am inviting you to join me alongside Kenrick Jaggernaut on YouTube, Mondays to Fridays from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. right here on U975 Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio. We will be bringing you all the information you need to know in the world of news and current affairs. You are also invited to add your voice, so call us live and let's get interactive.
U975 Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio is now on Facebook. Like us, follow and share our page. We'll be sharing the latest news, tips and much more. You can also view what's happening in our studio. Find us on YouTube and subscribe to our channel at RCL U975.
And welcome back to the program. It's pre-budget discussions on U975 Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio. We just have a few minutes again left on today's program, and so before we wrap up, we just have exactly one week again before the national budget. Yes, a lot of people are looking forward to this. A lot of people are worried, despite the fact that, you're saying that we should not be worried, but a lot of people are worried. So what would you say to persons in situations who are sitting there and they're waiting to see what will happen? Some people probably, the older folks probably taking it on, they're thinking about their pensions, what are going to be cut. People, so especially those persons who are in the brackets of social services, the pensions, the food cards, all these different things. These are the people in society who will definitely feel it, because even if they were to raise prices on anything, let's say food prices or anything like that, we the consumers have to buy, So what words of encouragement would you give to persons right now ahead of next Monday's budget presentation?
Well, 1 week is a short time now.
Yes.
And there's nothing much you as an individual can do. I would suggest let's wait and see, because don't make sense getting anxious about anything.
Yes.
Although that's a natural feeling at this point in time, seeing that the petals are falling all around you.
Yes.
But in the meantime, I think prepare. If you do have a piece of land, please plant as much as you could. If you have a fence, you can plant all the vines, all the bodhi, the Karaili.
Yes.
You can start doing something with the little land area that you have available. Even if you don't have land area available and it's all casted in concrete, you can grow many things by way of
buckets.
within the pots and buckets,
Yes.
and so on, right?
Because I saw someone grew tomatoes on a hanging pot.
Hanging,
so instead of it
exactly.
went up and you having to put this
It's
to
down.
hold it hung down, and
Right.
yes.
So that's where we have to be innovative.
All right, well, let's just take this caller before we close off today's program. Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
A good discussion you're bring up here.
Thank you.
The question of the pension and the
Yes.
also the underprivileged.
Yes.
But they said that they cannot do that. They're
Yes.
not going to cut pension.
Yeah.
Not going to cut, so no social services at all.
But if any prices go up, of course, the pensioners and the same persons who are collecting these services would definitely feel it, because they are the consumers and they will have to shop to get stuff.
Well, yes, I agree with that. Yeah, but the question involved is that I think they would like to get an embarrassment like that, because they got an embarrassment in Patrick Manning time when they did something with the pension, the oldest pensioners, and they embarrassed them. They darkened the street by Forest Plain there. They were the headquarters with placards and all kind of things. So I don't think they'll want that.
Yes.
They'll piece of that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I agree with you, caller. I
Okay,
think that's
thank you very much.
that is an explosive issue.
Yes.
Particularly when you cannot go and cut people's pension. If, however, I don't know if the pensions are already so small in today's inflationary environment.
Yes.
Inflationary, people are saying inflation. I think central bank, they always report a very low inflation, but that is not reality. When you go to the a pound of butter is over $50 now. A pound of butter. Cheese has gone up. Everything has gone up.
Everything has gone up.
And then you're still reporting inflation rate low.
Yes.
So I'm glad you brought that up, and I don't think they would touch pension. But if they are to implement any austerity measures, which they have to do, because your revenues are so much lower than your expenditure, they have to do it by way of example to get austerity measures acceptable in the country. Even then it's very difficult, but they have to start cutting at the top. And I can assure you there are several line items that the government can start cutting, and it starts with their own salaries. It starts with the number. I would recommend at this stage that we have progressive taxes, meaning to say if you go above whether 500,000 or 800,000 for the year, you pay 100% tax on the balance, or 95% tax on the balance, because we cannot. One of the big problems in society today is the disparity between the very rich. Middle class is disappearing, and then you have the very poor.
Yes.
The very rich, disappearing middle class, and then you have the very poor. How do you address that? And that would be one of the challenges for government.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to wrap up our program today, but of course, I would like to extend an invitation for you all to join us next Monday at 3 p.m. We will be having our post-budget discussions. Mr. Ved Siram will be with us in studio, and yet to be confirmed, but former government minister Dr. Botiwari is more than likely supposed to be a part of our panel discussion next Monday. So this is just an invitation for you all to join us for post-budget discussions next Monday right here on U975 Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio. Thank you for all your calls, and thank you to all our sponsors, and thank you to everyone who has listened on to our program this afternoon.